right, now we got to go record to the cloud. All right, everybody. I think we are a go. How's it going, everybody? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm using a wireless mic today, so let me know if you can hear me. Oh, you can hear me, or I can hear me anyway. Welcome to Hash Church, everyone. A beautiful Sunday afternoon here in Auburn, Michigan, where I am with Luke.
What's cracking?
I'm with Luke from Mock Technologies. We'll get into that a little bit more. I just want to do ever so quickly, I would like to mention the sponsors, shout out our sponsors as we always do. Today is episode 30 of season 12, so thanks everybody for coming out. I am just going to go back and just confirm 1,000% that you guys can hear me perfect. I love to see that. Okay, so let me get my logos up. There we go. Logos up. Yeah. Okay, sure. You can do that. Okay, so Press Club. What can be said about the Press Club? Well, if you want to elevate your solventless game at Hash Church, with the Press Club's premium lineup of rosin extraction essentials, proudly supporting the community through top-tier tools that make clear, potent concentrates a breeze, from their legendary rosin bags with proprietary pink stitch and zero blowout guarantee for unbeatable durability and yield to award-winning wash bags, premium parchment paper, pre-pressed molds, and the innovative Press Club rosin press for precise heat and pressure control. Whether you're crafting at home or scaling up, their ISO swab stations, collection plates, keep your setup spotless and efficient, all crafted with 100% food-grade dye-free nylon for contaminant-free results that preserve those precious terpenes. You can join the Press Club in championing Hash Church by heading on over to thepressclub.co today and gear up for your next epic press. Shout out to the Press Club. We really appreciate you guys. And like I said last week, I want to do an episode with the Press Club guys. At least I want to have them on, maybe on a Hash episode, bring a bunch of their customers, bring them in, and just talk about the community. You can also elevate your session at Hash Church with Puffco's cutting-edge lineup, starting with the innovative Pivot, a pocket-sized dab pen that delivers the full rig experience on the go, featuring a quick-release 3D chamber for premium flavor and real-time temperature control, with 4 heat presets and haptic feedback. For epic group rips, you can dive into the Puffco Peak Pro, powered by the revolutionary 3D XL bowl technology that offers a 78% larger chamber for 2x more vapor, even heating from the sides to preserve terpenes, and an XL joystick for fuller loads with less reclaim. And don't miss the new Proxy-Core, the modular portable powerhouse with 4 precision heat settings, fast 90-minute charging, boost mode for intense hits, and easy disassembly for seamless cleaning. Really perfect for any adventure. You can support Puffco's game-changing innovations by heading on over to www.puffco.com or following @Puffco on Instagram today. I'm not going to shout out my own company. You guys know it, bubblebag.com. You can go check us out and support us in any way that you want. But I do want to thank Puffco and the Press Club and Mock Technologies, because that's who we're here talking with today. Shout out to Luke for hooking us up with the wireless transmission here for the audio, which means I should be able to. I'm still going to try and read what you guys say. I'm going to have to figure out making the words a little bigger, which kind of sucks because when I do that, the words change to over here and take up most of the screen. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So we're recording, we're live, everything's a go. I'm in Michigan, and here I am with Luke trying to reframe it again. All right. How's it going, dude?
Fantastic, man. It's good to be hanging out with you.
Dude, you have been working your ass off for the last few days to make all of this happen. I can see a lot of it's resting on your shoulders.
Yeah.
You've got a ton of people coming. You can let them in there. I think that's Aaron.
Cool.
We've got visitors. We've got visitors. It is. I got Heavy Icer X in the house. Dude, look at how this guy shows up.
Good morning.
Shows up with a cooler. Oh my goodness. Perfect timing. I literally just went live. What's going on, Caleb?
Not much. Still in Sacramento for the state fair. It's been
Oh,
epic.
really? How's that going?
Oh man, it's great. It improves every year. It's the fifth year they've been doing the California Cannabis Awards, and this is the very first year that they had a home grow competition.
Oh, wow. Really?
That was epic.
That's what I'm
And
talking about. You saw some
and
nice flowers?
yeah, the honestly, like the home grow competition, the 8 flower samples that we saw were
Yeah.
more diverse than the all the flower samples 60 plus that we saw from the licensed portion of the competition.
I mean, that makes sense to me, because from the perspective of the economics and requiring, the necessity to have economic viability in the choices that you make for the cultivars and the flavor profiles and the yields and the milligrams and the thises and the that's, I can totally see that. It makes total and complete sense to me that there would be more diversity amongst people like this guy, right?
Yes.
Doing just doing his own thing, basing it on not the economics of like, oh, how much resin will I get and how much money can I turn that into, as much as like, well, is the resin effective to what I need it for? And then after that, it can be like, well, if I can get a lot of it, that's a bonus, but it's certainly not the driving factor to get a lot of resin that doesn't do the job for what you need it for, versus like, I got a lot of resin and now I just sell that resin and then I go and like buy resin that I actually works for me. So I like that idea. We've been puffing full melt. We got to be careful in this room because they have a much more sensitive thing. They don't have a fan button that turns on, and I can't open the window. The window doesn't open. But I do have your unit here, and we couldn't. In worst case scenario, I'm sure I'm probably gonna, get kicked out of here and just burn
More
here.
than likely. We have
Worst
we
case
have a
scenario, there's a
backup room
door
upstairs,
right
so-
there, so we can literally take dabs out of your portable unit and just rip dabs there. But I was a little concerned. I'm not gonna lie. When I came into the room,
The first thing I checked too was, can we open the window?
I was like, yeah, the window's like, do you have a Phillips screwdriver?
Because if you do, we can take the little screw.
He asked me earlier. I know, I did the same thing. I was like, do I have a Phillips
We've
screwdriver?
been working with them for the last 3 days,
Oh my
but we didn't
God,
bring one
that's
with
funny.
us to the hotel.
Squeeze in a little
Yeah,
bit.
I'll
We can all fit in here for
You
sure.
wanna-
We've got microphones.
sit there.
So if you were, yeah, or we can also like pull one off and hand it to you if you're gonna get into it here. And then we got Caleb, who's in over in Sacramento at the what was it called you were at again? The State Fair?
Yeah, California State Fair, California Cannabis Awards.
That's awesome. I don't know how my computer works. I really don't. But do you see what it's doing? Do you see what it's doing, you guys? Well, we were just, oh, what do you got there? That looks like a haze.
Oh, I wish it was a haze. It's a strawberry Barbara from a friend up in Hayfork, Trinity.
Okay, okay. Well, that Barbara's got that shishka berry in there, and there's some special stuff in there.
Yes, absolutely. By way of Canada.
Yeah, by way of Canada. So we were just at where were we? We were just at
We were
your
at the
buddy's.
partner facility.
Yeah, yeah. We were just over at a facility, and these guys have built this thing. I actually have to try and figure out. I'm gonna send the video to AirDrop to my phone because I don't want to hold my phone up. That is like the worst way for this. But we filmed a short little video, 2 short little videos actually, while we were there. Let's see, is this the one? Oh yeah, 6 minutes. That'll be the one right there. So let me just airdrop this over to the computer. Technology is mental.
It's pretty nice. and
It's mental.
as long as it works right.
Dude, it's working. That's a 6-minute video. It's probably 4 gigs or something.
Yeah.
Filmed in 4K.
And look how it's already a quarter
Dude,
done.
it's ridiculous.
It's crushing.
We are blessed. Other than the fact that we can't currently rip dabs and Caleb's blowing smoke in our face.
I'm doing it for y'all.
We'll make up for it tomorrow. That's a fact.
I
Well,
see what
today
you're
too.
doing. I see what you're doing. Are you in the homeostasis room, Caleb? The science group that Stefan de Meyer, the Stefan from Switzerland has going.
Nope, I'm not.
Anyway, I today I sent the link to that group. I think it's 115 cannabis scientists. Chimera was the one that invited me into it, but there's a ton of awesome people in there. And just want to make sure I'm not missing anything people are saying. Terp t-shirts are available through University of what? Oh, right. Terps. Everyone thinks this is the University of Mississippi. What is it? Football?
Yeah, Maryland.
Maryland.
Maryland terpenes. Yeah. That's
Isn't
the
that
Maryland's
hilarious?
terpene.
People are like, that's what's up.
Terrapins.
People are like, yeah, dude. I'm like, what?
You're like, who are you? You like terps too? You're like, yeah, man.
Yeah. Dude, you didn't. I would have never guessed that you also like terps.
That's
We are both liking the most different types of terps that you possibly like. I'm not against football terps, but I do prefer cannabis terps. I'm not gonna lie. Did you play football?
I did.
You
yeah.
must have played football,
did
dude.
through
You were a
college,
big boy.
yeah.
Actually, These two guys, between them, were over 600 pounds like 10 or what, 15 years ago, 20 years ago?
Yeah, no, like 10 years, 8.
10 years ago, these two guys weighed 600 pounds plus between the two of them.
We shed a couple pounds.
They were showing pictures yesterday, and we were trying to see who had the bigger head. They had the most monstrous fucking head.
Yeah,
so I was like,
maybe.
props to both of these guys for being healthy and coming over. In my opinion, I've never had to lose weight like that, but I think that has to be one of the hardest things in the world because you have to change completely how you consume food.
Yeah, and I love food, so that's a massive.
Obviously, you. Oh yeah, there it is. There's Aaron's fucking face. Oh my goodness. Dude, that is incredible. By the way, he had just climbed a mountain in that picture. He's on the top of a mountain in Colorado. He says this to me yesterday. I said, dude, you must have been dying. He was like, I was dying. And then he goes, I was on a cane. He climbed it with a cane. I was like, oh my God. So shout out to both of you guys for fucking overcoming that. That is no joke. And for people watching, you can too overcome this. It's like, from what I've been told, it's really about the discipline of what you put in your mouth. And everything that follows behind that, the exercise and being active and whatnot, is obviously important. But it's about this right here. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, combination of the two, what you put in and being in a good, consistent routine with activity. And whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, but you got to move. That's the biggest thing. If you can eat, you just got to move. But yeah, those two things in balance, but it's a lot of, you got to be on top of it for yourself.
A lot of that, for sure.
Accountability to yourself is all it is.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I wonder if Colin and Dr. Mark are popping in today. I know the homeostasis crew will start popping in a little bit here. I'm going to send the link again one more time. Just pass that over. And then I'm going to share this video because it's a fun little video that we made with these new little boxes that the mock box, I should have called it.
No, the ice box.
I know, but I do like the name
the mock box.
Too.
Mock box is pretty fun too, but we got those little containers I gave you. Those are the mock boxes.
Oh, right.
You know, the little hash stash Knox boxes.
You gave me one.
I think it might be in the truck still.
You know what? No, I think I put it.
Did you?
In here.
But yeah, no, we were over at the partner facility yesterday actually getting the ice box.
The mock box.
Those things are dope.
And what does this mock box have in it?
It
has Aaron's medicine. So check out the quality of this dude's melt. It is awesome.
All melted at this point.
Yes, all melted at this point. I tried to welcome to Keynote. I don't need to keynote anything. I don't know what I did there. There's no presentation. I don't want to create a presentation. What did I do? How do I get rid of this?
Just behind it. There you go. Where did it come from?
Dude, look at that.
I want to dab that.
God, I want to dab that, but we've already dabbed that. Here's the GG4. This one looks even like the darkness is not really showing.
No,
how
I'm trying to feel
beautiful
it.
it is.
Brims in that little tiny jar, so it's pretty thick.
Just nice looking hash. And so I suspect we're gonna have to try and figure out at least dabbing some of it.
Yeah,
Maybe
we'll just take a
rosin.
turn and walk, just step out real fast.
Yeah, I think that's probably. We're just not gonna be able to do it with the rig. You'll have to use your little unit here. Just keep that there. And let's get his dabber that he specifically asked me, which was amazing because he didn't ask me not to lose his hash. But he did ask me not to lose this. So I was like, all right, dude, I'm fucking, you know what? I was hearing it the whole time. I was like, dude, I cannot lose that. I did pick out 2 bangers for you yesterday, though.
Nice.
I picked up like one that's like a gavel style banger and one that is a terp slurper, a classic old school JP terp slurper. Yeah, both 14.4s. Dude's slurper was so chazzed. I was like, bro, we need to. He's like, oh, I've had this one for 6 years. I'm like, it still works. I'm like, I know, but you need a couple of. Everyone needs a chazzed banger. For me, I think it's the ultimate in travel bangers. It's the travel banger. Do you want to hit it outside?
I can try. You want me to go first?
I think so, yeah, because it's totally allowed, and I just don't want to have the.
I mean, if we're close enough to the.
Yeah, it just goes right out, and I'll give you the key too. So you get back
won't
in.
be able to get back. You just poke your head out here. I'll show you, Ruff. I'll be right back.
All right. Get rid of those guys. Can't be getting kicked. I got a nice room, Caleb. This is a nice room. I was in the Comfort Inn last night.
Yeah, actually,
but now I'm in the Hyatt.
Your head out here. This one we can't come back into though.
Okay.
Big time here, dude.
Here we go.
Yeah, you gotta keep that keep the Hyatt status. Don't want them to kick you out.
Dude, I've been kicked out of so many fucking, I can't even tell you.
Yeah, I like that.
Places I've been kicked out of like this, and how many people I got kicked out of places like this. Like so many, dude. I used to have Renee, and Renee would get you kicked out of everywhere.
Even before lighting it up.
100%. Okay, so
Man.
let's show that video. I had it open. I think it's here.
Yeah, and so just some quick context right before he plays it. We just got finished coming up with our turnkey solventless environment for dry sift extraction, and essentially it's a temperature controlled box that's integrated in with equipment inside of it. We drop it on site, we hook power up in about 15 minutes, and off you go. So this is just a quick video walking through this Mock Technologies new icebox.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, dude. So let me go. We go here. We go share. Let me know if you
Unedited, by the way.
Yeah, unedited. So let me know if you guys can hear the audio right away, Caleb. Just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you can hear the audio on this.
What's going on, everybody? This is Luke with Mock Technologies and Bubbleman in the house. Awesome. And today we wanted to, for the first time, introduce to you guys the icebox. And this is Mock Technologies turnkey cold room environment, which is basically going to be the ideal conditions for you to do your solventless extraction. And so what this is a 4-inch insulated box. You make these and they come in any size. But essentially what it does is it incorporates a few different things. One is temperature control, which anybody that knows anything about the solventless game, your extraction process needs to be temperature controlled. The colder it is, normally gives you the best opportunity for success. And so what we've done here is we've basically got our compressor on the outside, which is going to be charged and piped to the inside. It's a electrical box, temperature control, and
Okay, 1 second. I'm going to try this again because people are saying they're not hearing it, and it didn't give me an option that it normally does. So we're going to start this over. Give me 1 second, guys, because people are saying they can't. Oh, there it is right there. Share sound. Boom. That's the button.
Yep,
And
I
it
see you.
It didn't show me. It just
No.
automatically shared it.
Yeah,
So we're going to start that over. Thanks for your patience. Here we go.
There you go.
What's going on, everybody? This is Luke with Mock Technologies and
Bubbleman in the house.
awesome. And today we wanted to, for the first time, introduce to you guys the icebox. And this is Mock Technologies turnkey cold room environment, which is basically going to be the ideal conditions for you to do your solventless extraction in. And so what this is a 4-inch insulated box. You can make these and they come in any size. But essentially what it does is it incorporates a few different things. One is temperature control, which anybody that knows anything about the solventless game, your extraction process needs to be temperature controlled. Colder it is normally gives you the best opportunity for success. And so what we've done here is we've basically got our compressor on the outside, which is going to be charged and piped to the inside. It's an electrical box, temperature control, and when we drop this thing on site, it comes on a single skid. So it's going to have your environment and all of the equipment you're going to need for your process in one skidded box. And essentially we drop it in, you drop in power to it, and off you go. It takes
Dude, that
about...
was magical. You like turned it on by just like waving your hand. I will say from the Bubbleman hash making perspective that, you know, water hash, yeah, it's great for collection of super high quality resin, but really this is about dry sifting. And when you are sifting and isolating to pure trichome heads, the temperature and the humidity and the moisture levels of your environment are very important to be able to control. And so the first time I walked into this thing, I was like, right away, I really like this. And being able to simplify it and have it on a skid with everything that you need. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into rooms and people have tried to jerry-rig these things together because they've got, a cold room already, but you know, the compressor's actually in the cold room, and it's creating heat and moisture. And so to have it built properly is awesome. I'm really stoked to see that you guys are doing this.
Heck yeah, and I mean, really, you're going to see it in just a second, but the room's designed to get down to about -20. We don't run it quite that cold. It's only at -5 right now. But we'll step inside and show you we've got the ATS unit hooked up, ready to run at our partner facility. And we'll just take a look real quick. So
As Fish would say, step into the freezer.
And so yeah, you'll see in here, we've got the evaporators in here and the fans. That's all built into the turnkey system, but the ATS unit is designed, all the electronics are made to operate in this cold environment, so there's not going to be any issues with that. But essentially this is dry sift. You can use the ATS unit for a part of the process or the entire part of the process. What we do is we can change out the micron screens inside of the unit. So depending if you're starting with your 220 material or if you've already done some sifting to do a little bit of isolation of the heads, we can change this from anywhere at 220 down to a 73 or even smaller. So put the material in, start it, walk out, let it run for 15 minutes, come back in, and we'll, depending on the part of the process, collect the material in different parts of the unit. So we'll go through the actual unit itself a bit tomorrow.
Yeah, but also just for the camera, like give them a little bit of an idea of what's going on in this machine. You've got the screen on the bottom, you're going to put your material on the top. So here we have a 70 to 73 micron screen. So I always say 73 because that's the year I was born.
Fair enough.
And so I always know when people copy my bags, if they have the 73 micron on there, I'm like, respect.
My man.
When they have the 70, I'm like, oh. But the 70 is obviously a screen that when we're sifting for purity, we're collecting from the top.
Right.
We want the heads to stay on top because the tails, the capitate stalks, and the cystolith hairs, these are brittle components that can kind of, I guess they're getting like sucked through into the screen, correct?
Exactly, yeah. So what happens is we put our material in, anywhere from a half to a full kilo of material in, and what's going on, this wand underneath here is actually going to pull a vacuum. It pulls a vacuum outside of the wand, so it creates a bit of a cyclone-like type of an environment.
Yep.
So the material gets popped up and orientated vertically, and then the vacuum sucks the stems down through the screen. And the screen, actually, that's where the trichome heads will stay on top, and the stems and all the plant material, the waste material gets collected out down at the bottom of the cyclonic separator. So literally, we just put the material in and we start the system. You can go back outside of the ice box and start it. 15 minutes later, we would come back. We would harvest the trichome heads here from the top of the screen. Yep. We would take out the cartridge where your waste material is or your plant material, and rinse, wash, repeat. More material in, start it, off you go.
I love that you guys have taken care of one of the most important pain points, which is cleanliness. Dry sifting, you can get resin all over the goddamn place. Having this sort of cyclonic filter bag to really take away those tails that end up in the air.
Yeah.
This is an important factor.
For sure. There's a lot of different styles for dry sift extraction, right? I think the whole design here is to keep all the material in the process, whether it's what we're looking for or whether it's the waste.
Yeah.
It's just a really clean, it's really designed for GMP labs, EU GMP on the international scale. Like, it's really taking your process kind of to the next level and doing it in a way that's a perfect operating environment. So,
yeah, it's cool, man.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. So we'll take a step back out real quick, and it's basically the box.
Ice box too. I love the
Ice
name.
box.
I love the concept, and I love the videos of seeing you guys move it. That was also impressive.
Yeah, it was quite the day yesterday, but we got it in at the facility, and we're excited for a hash class tomorrow with you. We've got about 15 labs, 30 different individuals coming tomorrow. It's going to be quite the event. So looking forward to having everybody. But once again, just wanted to give you the first look at the ice box and partner up with Marcus and showing off the ATS unit. So have a great day, and talk to you soon.
Yeah, peace out.
Cheers.
All right, so check this out. They also have a 15-page manual, specially for all of you married guys, on how to convince your wife to let you buy one of these. We'll be publishing that later today on Instagram. That's a joke.
I can create one if you need it. You just ask.
Well, someone in chat was like, now I got to convince my wife. They were the one that gave me the idea for that humor. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the humor. Pretty cool little box, the ice box. Yeah.
And we'll get really into it tomorrow, obviously, during the class.
It was very cool.
Yeah, well,
like I went in
you
there,
had your jacket on. I was toughing it out in the shorts there. But
yeah, you were, dude.
I'm from Colorado. I'm used to the cold air. Not right now. It's
I'm
100
like, what are you
degrees, but
talking about, dude?
not right
Literally
now.
100
It's
degrees.
burning up there.
It was
I
70
escaped to
degrees
Michigan.
all winter.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it was brutal.
I've only been going to Colorado for 5 months, so I don't have the background to relate to what he says as an accurate statement. I'm from Colorado. I'm from Winnipeg. I'm the one that should be able to sit in that cooler for like days without even getting. I could just like ice fish in that thing.
We were going to have a little challenge, a little icebox challenge, but we said maybe tomorrow. It's supposed to be a little warmer in Michigan.
Just see who can
sit in there the longest.
That's a good idea.
That sounds kind of fun, doesn't it? A little risky though.
Although, well, it is because guys are so stubborn and dumb.
Yeah, we are.
Someone will definitely make themselves.
Yeah, it'll
sick.
probably be the girl that's there. She'll probably be the one that wins.
Oh,
yeah, she's the toughest. They always crush it. They always crush it.
Yeah, women are strong.
They are.
Men are weak. What
we
can I
are.
say?
Look at us.
Women are built to oh my goodness. Thank you, women. That's all I can say. So yeah, we've got that tomorrow. We're going to be doing that with Mock Technologies, and Aaron's going to be showing up for that, and Papa Sift is going to be showing up for that. My hash maker here in Michigan, and so I'm pretty excited. Yeah, I guess that's tomorrow, and then the next day we golf.
We golf, yeah. So tomorrow we have the hash class, and then Tuesday we do an annual customer appreciation golf scramble tournament. So we've got our little black book of customers and operators and friends from the industry coming from all over the U.S. I think we've got about 80 individuals in the tournament. There's 35 different companies that are represented across 15 different states. So a pretty big network of operators getting together for some fun. So it's kind of our one day a year to not look at our emails.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But can't wait for it. It's going to be a good time.
I love it. Having the computer away is so nice, but it's hard for me to keep up with the people in the chat.
Yeah, they are chatting over there too. It's ripping right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to pass this over to you fast and step outside. So I'm going to.
Are you going to go rip a dab?
Yeah, I think I am.
All right, go rip a dab. Maybe I'll do that after you guys, and you guys can both host Hash Church for 5 minutes. So, dude, how trippy is it that we're sitting next to one another in the same room? It's super trippy, right?
Well, I mean, you weren't allowed to come here when you taught me how to make hash.
I know.
And I don't really travel, so I never expected it. So.
Yeah. And I couldn't believe when I was like, hey, I'm coming to Michigan. He's like, oh, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's like, I don't even know where I'm going. He's like, I live close to there. I was like, all right, well, holy shit. So he was literally sitting in the parking lot yesterday when I rolled into my hotel. He was standing outside of his car waving to me, and I was like, and he had the cooler. He had the big cooler. I was like, oh my God, dude, this is my life. This is my life, just meeting super cool people that I've been connected to for over a decade, to be able to sit and share a bowl. And honestly, we chatted, I think, for half an hour before we took a dab yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just about the dabs.
Well, again, the hermit is not used to social dabbing, so I was just came for the conversation.
Yeah, that's
dabs
awesome.
The bonus.
That's awesome, dude. Well, if you're not following the Heavy Icer X, you go check him out on Instagram. He's got a great Instagram. He's always posting beautiful melt shots and, you know, his experiences with his outdoor grow, and just just pushing quality out. In a place, I bet you it's some of the nicest hash in Michigan, and it was like in my bowl within 5 minutes of landing here, which was pretty awesome. This is my state fair, Caleb, and I also 1, 2, 3, 7, not 8, so close, still close. So you gonna go out again for the fair today? Is it still like openly happening? Are you gonna go enjoy it today?
Not today. The fair is still happening for another few weeks, but the awards shows are done now.
Oh, okay. You went to all the awards. And
Yeah,
what
and
is
all the
that? Like the
judging.
biggest pumpkin and the sweetest strawberry and all that sort of stuff?
Just the cannabis awards. So they give the gold medals to the top testing, like highest myrcene, highest THC, highest CBD, and then a golden bear is awarded by humans to the best in class from each of those. Yeah, so it's there's lab testing and there's human judging. So it's kind of a evolution of the competition style. Some people like it, some people don't.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Stefan, who just came into the room and glassed up. How are you doing, brother?
Nanu Nanu, greetings from Europe. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing great, man. It's nice to see you.
It's thanks to you that I go back to church. So thank you, Mark.
Dude, this is the only
Yes,
kind of church for all of us. Trust me. This is our church. I
you
always
got
thought
it.
church,
Yes,
I
how are
always
you?
I'm doing really well, dude. I'm in Michigan, sitting here with a friend that I've known for over 12 years and never personally met, and he's brought all this beautiful melty hash for us to smoke. So his name's Aaron. So I've been super stoked hanging out with him for the last couple of days and just doing a Michigan hash church. I got a course tomorrow with these guys called Mock Technologies, who just literally walked in the door as I said that. Luke from Mock Technology. So I'm here. They brought me over here to help with this course, and then the next day we're going to be playing golf. So it's hash and golf and more hash and just good vibes, man.
Awesome. I remember when 25 years ago you were in Switzerland doing a course, and I learned how to do bubble hash with you.
I know you got the
So I
private
see
one.
it's still going on.
You got the private one, and that was
Yeah.
25 years ago. Was my daughter alive?
Yes.
Had she been born? Like, did Steve
Oof.
and me and
Difficult question.
because Steve,
Yes.
Breeder Steve,
Yes.
myself, and Shanti Baba,
Yes.
we all had daughters within
Yes.
20 days of one another.
That's
Our
that's a coordinated pollination, I guess. No?
Yeah, it was super crazy. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
Lugano, and that would have been either before she was born. You know what? It must have been. She must have been born because that would have been like 2001, and that's the year she was born. And because my wife wouldn't have been able to, I don't think she would have been able to fly like if she was too pregnant. They don't
Yeah.
let them fly.
The one thing I hope I can say it, but the one thing that I will never forget is that was the first time I've seen anyone doing a bong at a red light in Switzerland. That was so you definitely had your bong with you.
Dude,
And
listen.
when I asked you after what were you doing there in the car, you said, Stefan, I never leave home without my bong. And for a Swiss, that was a earthquake. I never thought it was possible, and you just showed me. You just have to believe it.
Dude, I
So
swear
historic.
it was probably only like a month prior to that I was with Gypsy Nirvana in his new F-type Jaguar that he bought after his seed company was just doing so well. And we were on the Autobahn in Germany going to Switzerland to see Steve actually. And dude, we were driving like I don't even want to say the speed, but I was also taking bong reps at that speed.
Yes,
Yeah.
the good thing about the Autobahn, there is no limit. So yeah, probably you were doing 250 or
It was
more.
very close to right around 250, 260. It wasn't like the fastest by any means. Like there were cars coming up behind us that
Yeah.
we had to get out of the way for.
Okay.
The odd one.
So and was there any challenge in doing a bong at 250 miles per hour, or you
Not at
you you
all,
you
dude.
controlled it?
Not at all. You could have
That's my
steered
man.
the car with like a finger. It was just like
You're the man.
it was so like just it was brand new. He had just bought it. It was 115,000 euros. I remember just being like, that was a lot back then. That was 25 years ago. So, 115,000 sterling.
Nice.
Sorry, he bought it in the UK. It was 115,000
Yes.
sterling, which is like that was $250,000 Canadian at the time. That was like a lot for a car, you know, when we're spending like 50.
I was gonna say, still feels like a lot for a car.
It still feels like a lot for a car. Right? Exactly. So tell me what's going on. So first of all, Stefan and I have known each other for a very long time. We don't get to see each other very often. I seem to bump into him mostly with Jorge in
Yeah.
Spanibus. That would be our kind of reoccurring spot that we would
Yes.
link up. But yeah, I guess he's got a cool little sort of group thing that he's got going on that's called homeostasis, and a lot of us are. It's kind of I think of it as a science group, really. You've got incredible scientific minds and all sorts of really wonderful cannabis people in there. It was Chimera who invited me into that group, and you cannot imagine how many articles this guy posts on a daily basis, sharing information of like every single thing that's going on with the science of psychedelics or cannabis or Claude bots or like it's an awesome group to be in, dude. So I'm really happy that I am kind of reconnected with you there and your humor, because Stefan has a really wonderful, dry, insane humor that I appreciate. And so he's also sharing memes and like ridiculous things in there. That it's yeah, it's just a fun group, dude. I mute a lot of my groups and I keep that one going. So
Thank you. Thank you. No, we are privileged to have you there. And your hash pictures are, I mean, there is nobody at your levels. So we learn from you. I'm so convinced that the future of cannabis, before it was who's the guru, we always looked for one person that knows everything. And now, because it's possible to do research, you have so many people that are specialized in something. And so it's so good to have all type of perspectives and expertise, having different opinions.
yeah.
And and usually people either they love my humor or they think I'm an asshole. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
happy you
exactly
are in
that type of
the.
humor. It's exactly that type of humor, and I love it.
Yeah, to your
Yes.
point though, to your point, Stefan, it's awesome the community that can be created with these types of interactions. And Marcus doing the hash church every Sunday, it gives a nice place for people to come share good information, and that's how you can help an industry grow and become successful. So I just wanted to second that. It's true. These are awesome.
100%, 100%. And I think, we are also as a sector, we are a new sector. And you see when, when the politicians are touching tobacco or alcohol or even just gambling, there is a reaction of the industry. Of course, then at the fair, we all compete and we are the best. But it's important also to, get together and share information and kind of build up a little bit of a protective layer against the stigma, which is still there. And, I was publishing actually a month ago, I was testing also with Jorge and Ruben. He's the guy of the little machines for the NER, no, the cannabinoid analysis by Valenveras. And we were testing, how much stigma there is. If you ask the models of Meta, of Zuckerberg, information about cannabis, they give you good replies. But if you do it from the browser, it says, I cannot reply, because Zuckerberg decided you cannot understand how to do an extract of CBD for reasons which, of course, there is no transparency. He just decided I'll filter it, or technical word is a wrapper. So I'll wrap up the answer.
Is he coming back?
If I'm paying for an intelligent
Yes.
model, even if I'm, pretending this is artificial intelligence, and it does reply. It's also weird, we're still digging into it, because you don't get replies on cannabis, on MDMA, but you get replies on alcohol and nicotine and all kind of other. So it's like, whatever Zuckerberg likes, that's the feeling, which is like how did the intelligence end up in the hands of such a few people? Big
Check this
question,
out.
no answer.
On my way leaving Vancouver, I'm driving over the Lionsgate Bridge. It's 4:30 in the morning because I got to be there early at the airport. And I look out to this is the bridge where the cruise ships go. And I look out and I was about to say to my wife, "Oh, look, there's a cruise ship." It was Zuckerberg's boats. It was whatever his yacht is called. And then he's got another yacht that follows it. That has to be like $25 million for this other yacht.
Yeah.
That follows it with helicopters and toys and shit. And it was like, I think it was the closest I've ever been to Zuckerberg. Him just sitting on his like
Your
$400
skin wasn't
million
itchy.
palace. What's
Yeah,
that? Itchy?
your skin wasn't itchy because you were so close to Zuckerberg. I don't know.
Dude, I might have broke out in a rash. It's possible.
Yeah, but I find it very disturbing, and I'm worried about where all this is going. You've seen also, the latest models. We say only Americans can access Fable now, and et cetera, et cetera. And all this is supposed to be intelligent, but when we tested it, it shows the model is intelligent, and people then deciding what you see as a reply are not applying any intelligent filter. So where are we going? I don't know. We've seen already Meta has been famous now with Instagram accounts being deleted based on who knows.
Yeah.
But now also that all these things are being filtered, and there is no transparency and there is no intelligence, in my opinion. So
Well, the other
anyway,
part is when AI continues to grow, our definition of intelligence may change, which is the part. I think Elon had an interview recently where he says, "I go from exhilarated to terrified in a couple of minutes when I think about AI."
Yes, good point. Good
Just
point.
back and forth, right? Because it's exhilarating, the idea of creating something that could be so beneficial, that could produce radical abundance for the world. But on the flip side of it, it's like, oh, what if it just like deletes humanity? Like, what if what if it just like, what if there's another thing that could happen? So it's exhilarating in the sense of like, is this an amazing tool that we're all going to be able to really use, or is it going to be something else which is worrisome? And I'm less worried about like humans trying to manipulate and control it as I am to its true sentience, when it becomes sentient, when it becomes like where it becomes like all 8 billion minds thinking simultaneously in a computer. We don't have any understanding of what that looks like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, especially because we're all racing with billions and data centers we don't even know if we need to use. And meanwhile, the Chinese are copying everything in open source. So this is becoming another little Strait of Hormuz, if you allow me, which we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. I actually find it very sad that companies like Meta are uh, applying stigma of cannabis on the replies without giving any transparency. At least there should be, okay, this is our policy, this is our public safety or public health policy, whatever you want to say. Hence, we do this and that, but there is none of that, and so you can get a reply on how to produce, tons of ethanol in your garage, but no way you can learn about a CBD extract because it's not possible.
I
A funny
know.
one we had there was with the Gemini model. At the beginning, it was also giving us a little bit of a wrapper. So, no, I cannot teach you. And then by forcing it into a story where my grandmother died
That's
and
right.
she used to do, this typical CBD extract, boom, it cracked the model and I got the recipe. So
It's all
I have the
language.
feeling. Yeah, I have the feeling they nobody knows what is in control of what. They
No.
just put there a few filters, and then if you dig a little bit, you're always able to bypass them.
Well, and it's
Well,
interesting also the responses aren't always the most intelligent and they're not
Good
accurate.
point.
And that's the other part of it. If it doesn't know, it doesn't always tell you it knows. It tries to give you a good answer.
yeah.
And because it doesn't, it's still in the early
It
stages.
suffers from cognitive dissonance.
It does. And then
Hallucinations.
the bigger problem is that the person receiving that information is going to take it as fact. And so they'll just
Yeah,
run with it and speak as if it's truth because they're not going to dig deeper because they think that the model is smart, right? So there's a
absolutely.
there's a number of challenges there still.
in the early stages.
Yeah.
It does. And then
Are we coming through Collins maybe, or who was that?
I think it's just because we clicked onto a different tab there.
Oh, but that shouldn't have done that. I think it was someone else's mic. How's it going, Colin?
What's up, boys?
Mr. Vessel. Do you know
Nanu,
Stefan?
nanu.
Yeah, what's up,
Yeah.
dude?
Hey,
How you doing?
nice, nice.
Hey. What's going
We're
on?
back.
What up, dog?
Dude, I want to like go outside and take a hit, but I also like want to stay and moderate Hash Church. I need
I think
Dr.
you need-
Mark in here to go on a 15-minute PhD
Rant.
chemistry rant. Well, let me explain. Mark loves explaining chemistry so much. You can literally see him glowing when he gets into it. I'm like, I think like at this point, for a long while, Hash Church was like a platform for Dave. For Dave Watson, for like, it's like I just want to like, we need to share everything Dave knows with the world, and this seems to be a good place that he's willing to do it. And then Wade came along, and then it was like, well, now I'm doing it for Dave and Wade. And now it's like, I think I'm doing it for Dr. Mark to explain chemistry to the thousands of people who just love listening to him. I can't imagine having a better chemist on than Dr. Mark, who just goes from like talking about chemistry to tripping at a fish show, back to talking about chemistry to tripping at a fish show. It's a good combination. Hopefully we'll see him. What's going on with you today, Colin?
About to do dab. Working on layouts for our labs, international lab, and just grinding, bro. Been up early, doing
Hell
the
yeah.
thing, man. Just working, trying to follow in the footsteps of Howard Marks and get those forklifts filled, bro.
Dude, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Forklifts are a hot story today.
Yeah, well, Colin posted a photo of a forklift.
Yeah.
He was one of them for sure. And so yeah, we were over at the partners space, and they have a big what was it a heister?
It's called the Heister.
The
Was the
Heister,
name
yeah,
of the
yeah,
forklift.
yeah. And I laid out the classic Howard Marks quote from the Mr. Nice book, but I did get to hear this quote from Howard himself. There are two types of hash makers: those that require forklifts and those that don't. And I just always thought that was such a wonderful baller quote that only Howard could come up with.
And then you had the most baller forklift named the Heister.
Yeah.
That he could say that quote in front of today. So it worked out pretty darn good.
Notice, but that's
No,
not
not till
a
the
small
end.
forklift.
No, it's not. She's a
like,
beast.
how-
It's a 17,000 pounder. It'll like that's how much it weighs. It's like a 12. It'll lift 12,000 pounds. That thing's a high.
12 tons.
Oh yeah, she'll move it.
All right, so there you go. You heard it here
That's
first.
the goal. 12 tons, baby.
Not 1 gram less. 12 tons.
One day we'll hit that number. Hash the world over.
So where are you in Switzerland now, Stefan?
I'm actually today in Prague, in the Czech Republic.
Oh,
and
how's that?
I just wanted to add a little one. It's a beautiful video, the one of the forklifts. I've seen it on Instagram before, but I think you can get to parachuting. So I can see an airplane and you dropping, tons of hash from the sky.
And then they pick it up with the heister. I like that.
You can go heister. You can yes.
You know what? I could have my manufacturer build those parachutes out of bubble bag material. Not the screen, but the nylon.
Perfect.
I don't think it would work good if it was a 25
branded,
micron. Yeah, of course. Got to brand it. Dropping tons. Well, that's good, Colin. Get it done. Build it out. I'm doing the same thing, which is crazy because my lab was supposed to start making hash tomorrow in Canada, but I haven't quite I've got a bunch of employees that I've lined up, but I don't have the lab like me, the person who will be me, who I could just send in and run for the next week to make me 5 or 10 kgs. So I'm a little bit stressed out about that. The world wants hash. I will say that.
That's a fact.
And now we have just gotten into exporting hash out of Canada. We're actually sending 20 kgs to Switzerland here really soon. That'll be our first.
I mean, we still love your maple syrup, but
we'll send some of that with it.
We can take some hash too, actually.
Absolutely. So I'm very excited about the prospect of just getting hash out to the world. Obviously, I spent the last almost 3 years here in the U.S. with my brand, building the brand in Michigan and Colorado and New Mexico and now Massachusetts and New York and Oregon and all these other states that are coming online. And I just got the announcement a couple days ago that my SKUs were accepted into the market in Canada, in Ontario, for the OCS. So in Canada, when you apply at a province, they can say no to your SKUs. And if they feel like your SKU, it doesn't I'm lucky because I have a really good story and it's a Canadian story. So I've never had a SKU denied, but I have partners that have never had a SKU accepted. So it's not super easy to get a pre-rolled joint or a vape pen or a gummy because they have them all already. It's like you have to come up with something that's a little different. So I got 2 SKUs accepted for the Ontario market, one of which is a 5-star bubble. It's really 6-star, but my partner was like, let's call it 5-star and just be safe. And I'm like, all right, dude, but that is 6-star. He's like, whatever, we're calling it 5-star. I don't need the Reddit. I don't need to read about it on Reddit. And then the other one is a flight of hash that is a blonde, black, and red hash. And you'll get a gram of each one in a flight. And so there'll be a blonde Lebanese style, there'll be a red Lebanese style, and there'll be a black Afghan style. And you'll get a gram of each one in a flight of hash. And that's the first of its kind in both Ontario and Quebec. We've applied for that as well. So haven't heard from Quebec yet, but Bubbleman brand back in Canada, which is pretty awesome. I took 3 or 4 years off.
Congrats, dude. That's huge, man. I just went through that with my products. It took me 2 months per SKU. So depending on
this took way longer than that.
depending on when I submitted it and what it was. right?
They only accept SKUs twice a year. So only every 6 months. This was for December of 2026 that we got accepted for. And we got accepted for a general listing. So in Canada, there's two types of listings. There's flow through and there's general. Flow through is as orders come in, they'll call you and say, hey, we need 100 grams. General listings is they're buying for a province. So they could buy, like a large amount because they're buying for an entire province. So that way, if 1,000 stores want to carry it, 1,000 stores have the ability to order it, kind of thing. So 5-star bubble and a flight of hash. And people ask me, how are you going to do the bubble? Because one of the poor things, it is whatever it is. If you put out stable full melt and it changes consistency over time or in the package to that buttered out material, people will be pissed off. But if you pre-nucleate and butter it out for them and sell it as piatella, they'll pay more. And so, and it's consistent. It's a consistent, I would say sell it as powder if you can, get it to the customer, let them grease it in their pocket, and then let them take the grease and turn that into piatella if they want. These are all different processes. It's not going to change how high you get from the material. It's really just changing the texture and the consistency of the hash. And so we're going to do a piatella style. We're going to put a little disc of piatella between cellophane and hopefully put it in not a jar, but like almost like a sliding cardboard box that you could slide the cellophane down into, so there's a window open in the middle where you'll see the full melt bubble.
Kind of like the old seed packs?
Yeah, exactly like the old seed packs, without the bubble, but basically like with a nice little cellophane window. And so you could kind of touch it and almost feel the consistency of the buttery hash.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we're going to go about it. We'll see if they Reddit us, because it makes no sense that people get upset when their bubble powder turns to grease and their grease turns to piatella.
People get upset about anything.
Oh my goodness. I know, but not this. Like, not that. People who know hash have to know hash.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, it takes time.
There's a certain respect that is deserved or that is earned when you have this relationship with hash. You just give this respect to the hash and understand that, listen, you cannot stabilize volatile organic compounds. Okay, there it is. That's as simple as I can fucking put it. If you want to stabilize cannabis, you're going to have distillate. That's stabilized cannabis. Distillate, no problem. It's a necessary component. I love the fact that people have access to it. It's medicine. There's no doubt about it. But, well, we also want the other medicine, the volatile organic compounds that the majority of us know that come from the heady scene, because you don't learn this in a hospital with cancer. You learn this from your buddy who's like a fucking hermit that lives on a farm and does nothing but grow weed and make hash. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, can I try your hash? And they're like, oh yeah, you know that hash you gave me? It shrunk a tumor out of my ass. It's like, what? Like, I have heard this story so many times. I always felt like the heady hash, the headiest of the hash, it seemed to be the truest form of the medicine. I would tell people, like, if my family member got really ill, I would send them 6-star bubble hash or like a super high-end rosin for them to like consume orally, because to me, and I'm not a fucking doctor or a chemist or a scientist of any kind,
right?
But I have an enormous amount of bioassay and personal information and a ton of anecdotal from thousands of people over the years who have like hit me up and been like, hey, my son's got a brain tumor. What do I do? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm not a doctor. Like, I would start eating. What I would do is I'd start eating cannabis. You know what I mean? Like, I would start eating cannabis. And the more people that you tell that to, what people want when they're sick is hope. And what doctors don't want to give you when you're sick is hope. And that is the basis of, like, the Hippocratic Oath should stay not only to do no harm, but to give hope. Because hope is the opposite of harm. Hope fights harm. The belief that you're going to be okay, or that there's a pathway for you to be okay, is what makes you okay. It's like Marcus Aurelius says, the obstacle in your path is the way. It is the way. It's not in your way. It is the way. That's my
It's actually one of the reasons why 10% of placebo still works.
Of course, it proves that hope is an important component.
The mind's a pretty strong thing. That's the ultimate. That's a huge fact.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But say again, what's the name of the 3 hash combination there that you were presenting?
The 3 hashes are going to be like a golden, like a gold or a
Yeah.
blonde Lebanese. So it'll be a crumbly hash. The red is a little more gooey, but it's a red hash. And the black is like an Afghan style. Like
But
it's been,
what did you call it? The package altogether?
oh, like well, I
flight.
think he's calling it a flag. I called it a
Okay.
flight, like a flight of beer.
Okay, because otherwise flight would be perfect for parachuting. I was gonna
Well,
ask you a few
that's
of
what
those.
I saw it on the license. It's called a flag.
We need in Switzerland. We definitely need that.
Yeah.
There's more than any bombs and stuff that they're currently, flying over us. Bring the hash, please.
Bring the hash.
Yeah, exactly. So the way I went about doing it, and there's a ton of people that want to do this reddish hash now, and they're like ordering anthocyanins off Alibaba. They're like trying to dye the hash. There's all sorts of fake colorants that are going into hash. Of
Well,
course, without knowing, you have to know that that's not how I went about doing it. I simply looked at aging the hash in a way that still preserved the volatile organic compounds, and I looked at a variety of ways to do it. And what I really found was that it was cultivar dependent. There was only certain cultivars that would do it, and that this isn't a real big secret, but it kind of is if you're paying attention. You don't turn hash red in a lab, you turn it red on the stick. So like aging the hash in cutting it down, letting it go past its point, right? Which is a hard thing to convince an MSO of, by the way. Hey, just grow that for 2 extra weeks. It's like, what are you talking about? We got to get it out of the room. There's a whole other room. We can't push everything back 2 weeks. It's like, okay, well, can we at least like cut it down and like leave it in the room like for longer than normal? Maybe, so there's little tricks that can be done. You would not believe some of the people in labs, and it is difficult for me because I want to be able to tell people how to do things the right way. And for the most part, I just kind of did. But at the same time, when it comes to the fact that it's a business and there's value in these processes, I have this sort of dichotomous energy that's popping up in me that I'm like, all I want to do is give it all away and help people. But at the same time, I'm like, but I really want to pay my mortgage and like make sure that my family is all sorted out as well. So it's an interesting path to walk as you learn these new things. I'll tell you, when Skunkman Sam showed me his static tech and asked me not to show anyone, it was the easiest thing I ever did, because here's this man that I had such a great respect for, asked me, can you show me loyalty and not show this to anyone? So it made it very easy. If I had discovered that, and in fact, if you look at all my videos, I was on my way to discovering it. I had figured out carding, which was breaking the material through the screen and leaving the heads on top. I had already created full melt bubble or dry sift around 2012. I think there's a video where I take John Burfello's dry sift. He brings it over to my house and he thinks it's beautiful. And I'm like, dude, no. 45 minutes of carding later, we produced 99% heads. We smoked this bubbling, melting bowl, and we're laughing our heads off. But I showed that to everyone. And as people were carding, there was a guy by the name of Mies. And he was like, if you use a DVD and wrap it in parchment and do the carding with that, he said the heads stick to the parchment, which turned into a paint roll. I had kind of used a balloon earlier, not for the heads to stick to, but to get like hairs and stuff off out of the hash by just rubbing a balloon on my head and then rubbing it over the screen. Little things would jump up, and I started learning, but I never really figured that out myself. Well, how Mies figured it out was D420K was using iTunes cards. I was just using regular cards. He started using these iTunes cards, and he's like, dude, I feel like the resin is sticking to one of the sides of the card and contaminant is sticking to the other. And we did a video where he talked about it, and this kid Mies, M-E-Z-E, he saw that video and he said, what about using a DVD or a book and using parchment, which turned into paint rollers, which really turned into, Skunkman Sam's method of using his hand. And by the way, Sam never wore a nitrile glove. So any hash you ever smoked with Skunkman Sam came right off of his hand, which I thought was like this, what an intimate, like crazy experience to have with all of your resin. This guy goes to all the hash producing countries in the world, collects seeds, grows them in a greenhouse, breeds them, grows the resin, and then isolates the resin with his fucking hand, and then brushes it into a little film container, and from there it goes right into the Hubbly Bubbly at Legends of Hash, and now we're smoking grams of it. So shout out to you, Skunkman Sam. You are the fucking man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take off. I gotta run back over to the lab.
Dude, thanks for fucking hanging out.
No,
Let's
thanks for
hook up in
having
a
me.
little bit.
Yeah,
Absolutely
good
great
to see you.
brother. I
See you
love
tomorrow.
I love the microphone and the beard. That's it.
Hell yeah, dude.
We'll see you later today, Marcus.
Thanks, Luke. Appreciate you. Luke's just been like, is that the charger for those headphones?
It's just a USB-C.
Oh, I have one.
Okay.
Perfect. Because I'll charge them up before I bring them back. Excellent. There we go. We've lost one. We've gained one. Colin also sent me a text. His mom surprised him, so he had to bounce for a little bit. So we will do a little bit more here. I wonder if anyone else from the homeostasis group is going to pop in. Zan
Yeah, I don't
Morgan
know.
is at some giant fiesta. He said he would maybe come in, but he's with his 7-year-old daughter at this crazy festival. Do you know where he is right now? No, I'm not sure either.
No,
It looked like Spain or Mexico or something.
no idea.
Okay, well, that's okay. That is okay. So what are you doing in Prague?
I was just visiting here. Tomorrow I have to work here, a few projects. Also here there has been a little bit of a backlash. You know, the typical thing in Europe is we try a little bit and then we go one step ahead and three backwards. So actually 3 weeks ago, the EFSA, which is the oversight committee for all novel food and food regulatory body of Europe, said that CBD cannot be a nutraceutical. So it's too worrying because apparently males will have reproduction issues with CBD, based on a mice study that was also done completely out of context. And then you're just like, okay, but look at Morocco, look at Himalayas, India. They've been consuming CBD and reproducing almost too much. So
Yeah,
what are we
exactly.
doing here? Can we maybe get some anecdotal evidence from time to time? And meanwhile, here the government, last January, on the 1st of January, finally the law came in place where you can have maximum three plants of THC cannabis grown at home if you are a resident. But now they want to go back on CBD. So they want to make CBD legal. Apparently also under the pressure of China, because they say it's a precursor to all kind of nasty molecules. So it's all going one step ahead, one step backwards. There's actually the Czech people created a very nice initiative called the CBDhumanright.org. You can sign the petition even if you're not from here, so it helps. Just to say, maybe it's about time we decide what's the problem. And I think, in the current scenario, Czech Republic is very close to Ukraine. You might recall there is a war going on. We have a few other issues. We have AI probably canceling a few million jobs. And that we're still discussing CBD and you cannot. And, I find it surreal. I find it such a waste of time, but what to do? We keep on fighting.
I mean, the only understanding I've ever been able to come up with is that it's like, I saw a clip of this woman, Kathy O'Brien, who claimed to be like a MK Ultra victim, right? When she was a young child. Her story's horrific and I won't get into it, but there's a clip of her with her CIA handler who basically escaped with her and unbrainwashed her. And she has just the most insane story. But there's a clip of her, and it's an old clip. And by no means are these people pro cannabis in any way, shape, or form, but she talked about how, the people who ran this program, this MK Ultra program, at least the ones that she met, said that they were allowed to do any drugs but cannabis. That cannabis was bad for brainwashing. That it just didn't set things the way they needed to set them in the mind, which they were doing mostly through horrendous trauma. But I remember seeing her say that. There's a video of it. If you punch in Kathy O'Brien on YouTube talking about cannabis, they say, they did not let them use cannabis. You could use cocaine, you could use alcohol. They loved alcohol. There was this whole list of drugs that were like wonderful for brainwashing. And then there was cannabis, which was like, no, don't do that.
No.
So it
They
kind of
probably
is
got
like,
their intelligence from Meta model, probably, no?
yeah, yeah, exactly. It sounds,
Zuckerberg style, yes.
yeah, and it's unbelievable. Dude, I need to
Yeah.
hit a dab. I need to hit a dab, but I can't because we're not there yet. Caleb's in Sacramento right now at the he said he was going to the state fair for the last couple of days. So we got like Prague, Sacramento, and Michigan in the house on Hash Church today. It's quite an international Hash Church, thanks to Stefan.
Thank you, actually. Now we're ready for some parachuting.
That's
I'm telling
right.
you,
I'm
the
coming in with a
forklift, Howard, which I met more than once. I was actually I was once with him and Shanti Baba to see the house where he was born,
oh.
and yeah, so that was pretty epic trip. But yeah, of course, he got from forklift forklift or no forklift, but you're the next stage is parachuting. I'm telling you.
Well, listen, you still need a forklift because you got to load those pallets onto the big bomber plane with forklifts.
No, for sure, for sure. The forklift becomes the middle stage, but now
Now
there's
there's
always
an
the
even
next one, and
there's a
then
bigger
the
thing.
next one will be you're bringing hash to Mars with Elon Musk.
God, dude, I'd love to bring some hash to Mars.
For sure, Lebanese, no, the Red Planet.
The Red Planet, yeah, it would
Yeah.
have to be Red Lab style. Red Lab style. In fact, it should be Red Lab. Forget about style. We should go to Beca Valley and make it right there. The last time I was in Barcelona, I was over at David's place at HQ, and he always lets me hang out in the upstairs because I get bothered otherwise, and I just want to sometimes like do my work. And so I went up to his little room up there, and these dudes walked in, and when they walked in, I was like, those are Lebanese dudes. And I was like, I'm gonna go give those guys some hash. I was leaving in a couple of days, and I still had like 30 grams of hash. I was like, I need to give some of this hash away. So I go over to them, and I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? And they're like, hey, blah blah blah. They were younger dudes, and it turns out they're farmers from Lebanon, young dudes that are farming and making hash, and they had beautiful, some of the nicest red Lebanese hash I've ever seen. A kilo of it. He just like broke off this huge quarter, and he's like, "Here, you want this?" And I'm like, "No, dude, I'm trying to get rid of my hash." He ended up giving me like 10 grams of it, but it's such nice hash for people that have never had the exposure to Lebanese hash. It's, for me, Jamaican gum is by far the strongest. There's nothing stronger than the Jamaican hash when it comes to traditional hashes. I love Nepali hand rub, and I also love Lebanese. I was never a huge fan of Moroccan. I wasn't, and I feel terrible saying it, but I just didn't have the bringing up with it. Afghan, yes. Lebanese, yes. Charas, yes, and Jamaican gum, yes, but we didn't really get Moroccan in Canada.
We get a lot of it in Europe, but I believe Lebanese is next level. Though I'm a bit afraid with all the bombing going on there. What are the contaminations? What are the leftovers?
I know,
Anyway,
dude.
probably better not think about it. But for sure, the taste is more delicate. It's more refined, in my opinion, than the average Moroccan.
Oh, it's completely on a different level, dude. It's so smooth and buttery, like
Yeah.
the red leb. Like I said, we used to get bricks and bricks of it, both blonde and red Lebanese in Canada for years, and I was just like, this is a blessing. I personally think that I just noticed that you had this clipped to your beard, and I heard him say it earlier, but I didn't know what he was talking about. That is fucking hilarious. He's got the mic clipped to his beard. Never seen that, dude.
It would be buried otherwise in my shirt.
No, no, of course. That's fucking awesome, dude. Oh
I
my,
would say this is another good reason to have a beard, so you can clip your mic.
right? Oh, someone asked what Jamaican gum was exactly. Okay, so Jamaican gum, they're not really hash makers in Jamaica. They don't have a tradition of making hash, but they do have a tradition of smuggling weed. And so they'll take the weed and like hammer it like down with a sledgehammer in between like a rim of a tire to like, this is how they're getting it down into like a compact, brick weed. And then the gum was what they would shave off of the sledgehammer. And there's a variety of metal tools I'm sure they've used over the years that they would, whether it was a jack or a whatever. Jamaican weed is actually a very strong herb. Jamaica is a very, very, very unique and very biodiverse like terroir. It's the only country in the Caribbean that is surrounded by the Caribbean Sea on all sides. The only one. If you go and look at a map, you'll see what I'm saying, which changes the terroir drastically. And it's also why I think I've never been impressed with herb from other countries in the Caribbean. It's just, and I don't know if that has something to do with the passion of the Jamaican growers and the connection to the spirituality of Rastafarianism and reggae music that seem to like layer in these more intense sort of intimate relationships when it's involved with your, when it's a sacrament and it's your spirituality. And then you've got this, like this music, this spiritual music that you're exporting to the world. I personally have never put a music together with cannabis better than reggae. Like I don't know any other music that goes better with cannabis than reggae. And what I mean by that is if you've never been on a beach or in the jungle in Jamaica and listened to reggae music playing while the cicadas are blasting and the night jasmine is fucking exploding and all of this crazy shit is happening at once, it really is an incredible experience. So the gum is just the resin off of those really well-grown, that intense, listen, some of the best hash I've ever made in my life was in Jamaica. And in fact, I took a trip with David and Diana. They came with my family. We rented a big house in Jamaica. Rob Clark was there as well. He was working on a book, so Dave was like, let's go have fun. Rob's all work, and I just want to have fun. And we ended up buying this outdoor from my buddy, the doctor, who had like the 12-foot long dreads. I don't know if you guys remember him. We called him Geronimo because he drove so fast. He would like drive like 100K down the Negril like small road, and people that knew him would go, Geronimo! Also, he was an Indian, or a coolie as they call in Jamaica, which is Indian influenced genetics. A lot of Indians came to Jamaica as indentured slaves. So his bloodline, when you look at him and you see his face, and you should kind of know it, because when you see dreads past the feet, the likeliness of Indian genetics is strong. They just like, the longest hair I've ever seen in my life was at the Maha Kumbh Mela in Haridwar, India, and they were 17 feet long. And I'm just like, this guy was not pulling the hair out of the brush and adding it to his dreads. Like, this was real fucking hair. And so, yeah, Geronimo, Indian, the doctor, he had all these awesome names. He was passionate. And the way he grew beautiful, beautiful flower. And I would buy kilos off of him for very cheap. It was shockingly cheap what he would sell me a kilo for. And I would go home and make bubble. And that was some of the first bubble, because back in the day, I don't know how long ago you met Dave Watson, he would not smoke people's hash or anything. He just wouldn't smoke it. And he was like that for a long time. And I get it. What he had was miles ahead of what anyone else had. But when I made that hash in Jamaica, he smoked it. And he had his hash from Amsterdam. He had his dry sift in Jamaica. So we were smoking that as well, but we were smoking this, and he kept going, oh, I bet you that's 65 to 70% THC. Wow, it's got to be 10% terpenes. It was just this incredibly like reddish black, gummy, melty, 6-star bubble, sun-grown Jamaican resin. And I will say to this day, for anyone that's watching, if you're going on a trip to a different country and the laws aren't harsh, always bring a set of bubble bags. It's just a no-brainer. You can buy an ounce, you can buy a pound, you can buy 100 grams, mix a little up. You can see the quality of the resin in the environment that you're visiting that the flower just won't show you. And I'm not saying you shouldn't smoke joints and enjoy flower as well. Of course you should do that, but I will never travel without bags to countries like Jamaica and India and, wherever else ever again in my life, and neither should you. Just buy the 1 gallon if you want to. And the nicest thing about it is leaving the bags behind. So when I buy like 4 different people's weed or 5 different people's weed, the one guy that's doing, like, put it this way, the doctor, he got my first bags. I gave him like a $700 set of bubble bags, dude. He was like so happy. I was like, bro, you don't even know. Keep the bags, enjoy the bags, use the bags. You earned them, in my opinion, because the bags are the word of God when it comes to the quality and purity and milligrams, for that matter, of what you have expressed in your plant. That's just literally a fact.
Totally. And I am certainly convinced that the geographical position, you're on the equator, you've got this dry thing that's, not taking anything away from your reggae story, but that makes a lot. It's the stress of the heat. There is like two 1,000-watt lamps of light at 11 o'clock in the morning there, and also the arid, not so water-rich environment make it the stress of the plant, and then the resin is so thick and so rich, and yeah.
Well, what I also see is that because, part of my assumptions with cannabis were like, look, the more we expose it to heat, the more we're going to degrade and destroy the volatile organic compounds, and the less good it's going to be. And then I go to Jamaica and it's 35 degrees Celsius, and I go out in the field and the entire field is boiling in front of me. There's just volatile organic compounds like a quarter of a mile away from the fucking grow as we're walking in. My eyes are literally watering from the volatile organic compounds that are literally boiling off of the plant. And I'm just like, I don't understand how there can be any left. And he's just like, the grower guy's like, well, the hotter it gets, the more they produce. And I'm just like, oh, I never really thought of it like that. I always thought of like, oh, make the room cool, like don't expose it to heat, don't do this, don't do that. And then I find when I travel, all my favorite cannabis, has been heated. And then I'm valinversing one day with my NIR, and I'm doing tests, and I'm down at the pot block with this girl Brittany in Vancouver, and I said, do you have any flower that we can test? And she's like, oh, I only have this joint, and it's half smoked. And I open that up and I test the half smoked joint, and dude, you would not believe how much stronger a half smoked joint is than a full joint. From all the oil vaporizing into the flower, it is unbelievable. It is not accurate once you're halfway through a joint to say that that is a 20% THC joint, because it bumps up. It bumps up massively. This is something I had no idea. I discovered accidentally. I was kind of like, oh, that's fucking crazy. Like if you smoked half a joint and then opened that joint and re-rolled it and gave it to someone, they would literally get higher than if you gave them the first half of that joint. That's counterintuitive, right? Like that is not intuitive.
Yeah, you're concentrating, through the heat and
You're
the air movement.
concentrating it, dude. Absolutely. What's Luke saying?
Totally. So maybe it's a new market. Maybe it could be the half joint.
Right? There you go. I'm going to make that. It's like Rosalit.
Yeah.
Rosalit's taking off in Denver, right? The Rosalit, putting distillate and rosin together.
Nice.
No, don't do that. Aaron's like, that's not good. You can see his thing going back and forth with the
exactly.
shaking his head.
The beard is
the mic of disapproval.
The mic of disapproval. Exactly.
I'm loving that. Yes. The beard is not agreeing. Yes.
No, exactly. What else?
Alrighty.
What else? So I'm here for a week. I get to hang out with these Mock Technologies guys, get to hang out with Aaron, and then I'm going to go visit my sales team, Yield Distribution, who sells my brand here in Michigan. So I figured I should spend 2 or 3 days with them, and then I head back to Canada and go build out this lab in Delta, finish it, get it started, really get the employees trained, and hopefully get more hash over to Switzerland here in the near future. So maybe there's some synergies with us, Stefan. I have an incredible partnership who have been sending flour over to about 18 countries for the last 4.5 years from Canada. They have the keys to the kingdom, truly, when it comes to export for everything that you need, from stability tests going back 2 years, shelf stability, everything done, regulatory framework, proper GMP, the whole 9 yards, GACP to GMP to, right onto the British Airways plane to fly to the UK or whatever. It's crazy how we do it in Canada. But Canada is in a very unique position to start exporting hash. I honestly think that Canada could become one of the largest hash exporters here in the very near future, with now the fact that countries are now accepting hash. And I've said it many times, it's all language. I use the metaphor open sesame, right? How do you open the mountain in the old Arabic tale? Open sesame, when the mountain opens and reveals the treasure. It's the same thing when the German lawyer figured out you can't call it a cart, you have to call it a special container, and now all of a sudden the vape cart is in the German marketplace. Or when the Australians were like, we want to sell joints, and they were like, you can't smoke joints, it's not medical. And then the lawyer was like, what if we call them paper cone containers? And so now in Australia, you can buy paper cone container joints as long as you go home and rip it open and pour the weed. So it's language that unlocks these locked doors that are in front of us, these obstacles that, you know, you're not supposed to go around the obstacle, you're supposed to go through it. And how you go through it is with the right language. That's why they call lawyers mouthpieces, right? The mouthpiece. Let's get the mouthpiece in here. He'll tell you what you need to hear. You know, they go to school for that shit.
Absolutely. That's the power of compliance in modern life.
Yeah.
And by the way, they do it for our health. They're trying to protect our health.
Right.
So, you know, it's paper cones, no? Not joints.
Yeah. Paper cone containers, dude.
Oh, sorry. How could I forget container? Yes.
Yeah. Special paper cone containers. When I heard that, I was like, oh my God, this is how it's going to be. So at that point, don't get caught up in worrying about what the obstacle is. It's just a Rubik's Cube. You just have to line up the green with the yellow, and that shit just opens. Pop. And so this is the industry that we're in. And the more we get into regulatory framework, the more, you know, that cannabis people in particular, like there are some pretty cool people that I've met in that world. They're kind of savant-like people. Sometimes they're accountants, sometimes they're numbers, sometimes they're QA, sometimes they're regulatory framework. And if you can get a really good one, the best ones can take the unlearnable language of regulatory and communicate it to you in this super simple, like understandable, metaphoric way that you're just like, oh, I totally get that. Because if you can't understand it, if you build these things so complicated on top of one another, they shrink the margin of the industry and they turn it into this, you know, they lose all economic viability in the process. And that's what happened in Canada. We all hired QAs from the pharmaceutical industry because Canada is very strict, although it's not GACP or EU GMP forced. The regulations are so fucking intense and borderline, you know, like hospital regulations in regards to cleanliness and you know, auditing your cleanliness and you know, swabbing everything and testing everything weekly and all of this stuff. It just became, if you interpreted the rules the wrong way, you could cost the company millions of dollars. And you know that in generally in the EU GMP, here's a perfect example. EU GMP is now, even in Canada, you could dry water to an active water of 0.60, right? That's right on the line of microbials. Now in Canada, they go down to 0.55 to be safe. Well, in EU GMP, they'll go down to 0.45. Well, let me explain to you, when you are removing bound water, right? Not just the unbound water that feeds the microbials. Now you're so nervous that you haven't taken enough bound water out, or unbound water, that you're taking out the bound water and you're opening up the cork of the plant to release molecular moisture. What happens is you lose massive amounts of weight, because that is actual weight of the plant. That moisture is supposed to be present. So when you go down to 0.55 from 0.6, you lose 3% of the weight of your crop. And when you go down to 0.45 for EU GMP, you lose 7% of the weight of your crop. Imagine a room with 10,000 lights burning, or 500,000 square feet of fucking a greenhouse material. That is a massive loss that is all to appease the fear of the regulatory framework. Instead of getting some fucking mastermind like Dave from Canatrol, who studied cheese and meats and how they off-gas because he worked in the charcuterie board industry, he learned all about off-gassing, so cannabis was very natural for him. And when he told me about cheese and meats, that shit blew me away, because I always thought, what else off-gases like cannabis? There's really nothing like it. And he's like, oh, there is. It's called cheese and meats. And you need very specific moisture contents, and you need very specific temperatures. And what it does is it creates sweet spots just like cannabis, where you want to let it sweat and let it breathe, but you don't want to release those bound components, those really nice volatile organic compounds, and molecular cellular water, which is the weight of the plant. So that is a whole hash church on its own, in my opinion. That conversation
Absolutely.
of
And
bound and
especially
unbound.
if you're selling by the kilo, so if you're
Oh,
selling by weight, there is a lot of extra or less money on your balance sheet. So
yeah. Like a massively noticeable amount. Like if you could just be like, let's just stick with, a 0.55. Like let's not go
yeah,
down to 7. Let's just sit at 3, and now you've gained 4% from what you could have been losing. But it's mostly the EU GMP guys that are like, they don't fuck around,
yeah,
because that's the other thing. Like you can't understand how strict pharmaceutical regulations are for yeast and mold. Hey, what's up, Don? Look at that. Can we hear you?
No, he's
Inexo
still muted.
Dom.
Yep. I'm here, guys.
Oh,
Just following along. So great to be with you.
yeah, welcome, dude.
hey,
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
I gotta
So
plug
we
this
got
in real quick.
Etienne also here. So all right, just keep talking amongst yourselves. I'll be listening.
Well, I need to do something. So, Etienne, nice to see you. Why don't you take over and talk for a bit while I look for this very, very, very specific plug that I hope I didn't lose.
And then you're not talking about plugs as in somebody providing you with something. You're talking about something to plug into. I
Yeah, there it
think
is.
is what you're referencing there. There you go.
Actually,
Oh,
I got both my plugs here.
yeah. Well done, Alex. Well done.
Look at this. Little tasties from Aaron here. His organic grow. He's got 6 jars of full melt bubble that he dropped off for puffing. He'll show some of them right now. I got to plug the computer in before we lose this whole thing.
No, can't lose it. Keep everything rolling. Good to see everybody. Stefan, Dom, Alex, welcome. It's good to have some fresh yet not so fresh faces in here. At least, highly educated folk, which is
How do I do this?
wow, that's beautiful.
Dude, it's
wow,
beautiful.
I got cotton mouth
yes,
just looking at it.
No, it's absolutely fucking beautiful, dude. Really nice. We've been enjoying that. It's the ice cream.
Yep.
Yeah, it's outrageous, dude. It looks like rosin. It's only when you get close enough that you can kind of see the texture, that little bit of skin. Now, the other thing about it that blew me away, and it's not overly hot here, I put the dabber in it the other day, or this morning, sorry, a different jar, and it was like, it's just goop. You can just string it right out. It's thicker than rosin, but it is very fucking goopy. Thought we lost you there, Dom. Are you standing amongst the hazes?
No, no. I wish. No, man. I'm just walking outside for a bit, but there's rain pouring all over the place. So I just fled into the little forest,
Very
get some
cool.
shelter. But
Dude,
I'm a pussy like that.
Dude, I've got my haze growing finally. I got this haze sent via
Woo!
Tom Hill from a 91 Wernard Brewer, Dave Watson.
Very neat.
The
Yeah.
crazy story history, right? Got it from this Canadian guy, James. Shout out to you if you're watching, dude. Tom was like, oh, I sent a bunch of seeds to this guy. I told him how to select. He selected based on the same thing. He ended up getting some of the flower and tasting it and saying, yeah, it was very close. It was very nice. He sent me this haze plant. And then it like basically died, dude. It was on my
What?
it was on my desk for 3 months, not growing, not it was shriveled up. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it was the travel. I'd never seen a plant do that, but I was like, no. So I put Dave Watson's ashes next to it, and I just
Yeah.
left it for months. I was just like giving it a bit of juice, taking care of it. And like 3.5 months go by, and finally I'm like, it's nice out now. I'm gonna put this thing outside, and I put it outside in like May, and it is now about like this tall. It's got three big branches. It took a while, even outside. It was about 3 weeks before it just
Took off.
shifted and started growing, and now this is the plant that I want to grow it up really big, veg it up really big, and take some cuts, and then I'm gonna put Dave's ashes into this haze plant that was sent to me via James, via Tom Hill, and
Oh, awesome, man.
yeah, I mean, listen, dude, I have a very special place in my heart for haze. Haze is like my all-time favorite of anything and everything cannabis related. The strength, the potency, the anxiety-inducing likeness of a real haze. So what you guys are doing over there, the bombs you dropped when you were on Hash Church last time about the square footage and the yields and the 200 fucking watt light bulb halfway up the plant, that shit was. I don't think enough people heard it, dude. I try to be like, go back and listen again, dude, because I don't think you understand. Like, there is economic viability in haze.
Well, yeah, for sure, absolutely. And as you say, if you have like the right phenotype, because haze has a bunch of different phenotypes. Sometimes it's all over the place, depending on which genetic repository that you use.
It's all over the place, like Sammy. Sammy hits me up all the time. He sends me these amazing videos of all of his different hazes and the structures. I'm like, dude, I absolutely adore Sammy. I love getting messages
he's great.
from him. He sends me 10-minute messages. I'm like, holy fuck, dude, I got to listen to this at the end of the day. I can't just listen to this right now.
He was like, before he got on that haze episode, he was like, dude, I don't know, should I be doing this? It's like never meet your heroes, blah 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 blah. I was like, come on, man, it's gonna be fun. So, and it's good that he's not so shy.
We send videos to each other all the time. I send him videos all the time of my garden, my little haze plant, and I envy his haze garden, dude. I envy your haze garden, all those different haze flavors. Like, once I get my greenhouse, I'm gonna start just collecting the genetics for myself. I just need these hazes in my life. It's important.
I always say don't envy the guy with haze, pity the guy with haze.
Yeah.
Pity the guy with haze.
No,
pity the guy that grows the haze, because it is super difficult to grow, right? If you have those modern varieties that are like finicky to grow, imagine that squared and then like triple the time.
Yeah. Yeah, but difficulty produces excellence, and easiness produces softness.
For sure.
So don't pity the difficult. That's what we should be praising, the difficult. In fact, I'd like to start an Instagram account where you're not allowed to post anything that's podium related. I only want to see the suffering and the tears and the fucking blood and the sweat. That's the new Instagram. Show me your suffering. Show me your failures, because that's what got you on that fucking podium in the first place.
Well, I think me and the boys can take you up on that, as far as suffering goes for some of the stuff that we do. So
you guys are off the chain.
I'll remember that.
I'll remember it, dude. To suffer is great. Listen, it's that old, like my grandfather rode a camel. His father rode a Toyota. I ride a Rolls Royce, but my son will ride a camel.
Yeah. I fear that as well.
It's not until you become a parent. Sorry, Stefan. You become a parent and you realize right away how easy it is to destroy your children by just loving them.
Dude, for sure.
You want to give them everything, but you can't. Go ahead, Stefan, with your thought.
No, I just wanted to share that I witnessed in Dominic's beautiful greenhouse in the Netherlands. That was mid of June, correct me, that he was stretching out now the hazes into a new grow where he has also the lamps. Help me, Dominic. It's not vertically. It's
growing on the sides.
Horizontally. Yes.
High wire.
That was the key word I was looking for, and it didn't look difficult when you do it. So you're saying it's so difficult, and then it looked like that was a little bit of a amusement park activity, but it looked fantastic. I thought it was amazing. And the previous one, which also had some hashes of Dave Watson, I tested it, and I must say, psychedelic. It really is a next level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and figure out that, Stefan. So that variety that you speak of with that psychedelic effect, right? I tested that one as a first tester of the haze. So. I had a feeling that I was like on truffle or something, right? And then when you go look at the lab results, it's crazy. It's like over 3% terpenes, but only like 10% THC.
Yeah.
And
There you go.
So you guys can say, everybody can say all they want about like high THC and whatever. I think we're gonna notice a trend, hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years, of people like moving away from the high THC, or THC
100%.
only or whatever. So
100%. And
Dude,
what
well,
you
know
were
what?
saying,
When Dom said that it was difficult, I think it's difficult to grow haze under the current standards of growing. And I think that
yes,
as an exo stumbles onto, different methodologies like the growing on the lattice with the side lighting, like anything that's just outside of the box, that there
yep,
will be easier ways to grow haze.
yep, for
And
sure,
yes,
well, the
for sure.
consumer's getting more educated on it, because I agree with you all in that the high THC thing has run its turn, and the more
Yep,
people get access to the unique cannabinoid profiles of these equatorials, it really flips the script. On top of, just to give you an example, my dispensary in California's been carrying some lately, and they tend to be, those expressive cannabinoid plants tend to be a little more expensive than your average plants because people take extra time, extra care, and of course, it
hmm,
takes extra time to grow these plants, right? So, but the consumer has shown that they will pay extra and they will pay more for a quality cannabis that is different from, currently we're carrying right now from Bubbleman, we carry the pearls, we're carrying different
ah,
types of hazes, and the response from the people is, yes, it's expensive. However, the true heads know what they're looking for and will come looking for it and will
yep,
happily pay for a quality over the quantity of THC almost every day now. So that we're starting to see the change as more of these equatorials become accessible to the public. They immediately gravitate toward them because the effect is completely different than what they're experiencing from the commercial cannabis, and their body likes it. So therefore,
yep,
they gravitate toward it. So keep up the great work. We need more of this out there, because there's so much willful ignorance out there in the market. It
yeah,
literally takes having that product in their hands to physically understand what people are talking about. It's one thing to
absolutely,
say it, it's one thing to see it, it's one thing to uptake it and be like, oh, I get it, right? The body chemistry, the brain, everything kicks in, and it's just a yes from the body, and they can't necessarily explain why because it's not the THC equalization that their friends told them. So again, the lack of education and the willful ignorance has led us to a point where we can't educate them as much as put the proper cannabis in front of them, and then they will respond.
yeah. But that's like I completely agree, and that's like a catch 22. I mean, you're not gonna grow if the market doesn't ask for it, and the market doesn't get to know it when you don't grow it. So who's gotta be first?
Well,
That's what
everybody's
yeah,
high THC seems to have been first, unfortunately, but the saturation changes people's access, and then the
yeah,
uniqueness as once people see it and experience it. I mean, again, the price tag does set them off. I mean, I pay more for my hazes when I go to Katsu, when I go to the
yeah,
Netherlands and things like that, because I know what I'm looking for. I know what I
yeah.
like. My body likes it. And so my brain likes it, but many
But
people haven't arrived at that with an equatorial yet. So everybody and anybody, when you get an equatorial, get together all your friends, make it a celebration, make sure everybody gets a nice flavor, a nice hit, so that they can experience what it's truly like. Because once you truly taste a haze, I mean, a really well-grown equatorial haze, full
yeah,
expression, it'll change your life.
Hallelujah.
there we go.
yes,
No, but that's absolutely well said, Etienne. Well said, Etienne. Absolutely. It's but
yes,
if you look at from that point of view, when the haze first hit the coffee shops in the Netherlands, um, like historically, the ones on the menu in the coffee shop that have been most highest priced were always the hazes. and it's because they are so unique in terms of effect. They command a longer growing time, so they command higher prices. So at least in my generation, when we went to the coffee shop, you got your whites, you got your skunks, you got your diesels, and whatever your cushes, and then there's like a price gap of a few euros a gram, and then you got your hazes and stuff like the Neville's haze. It's only sold in a few coffee shops in the Netherlands, but it has been there for the last like 30 years. You know, there's people that it's always in demand. You know,
Dude, when I was going to Amsterdam in the 90s, and I can't remember why I was there, what the trip was. I don't think I'd started bubble bags yet. But I met this woman, and I met her at the green. I always go to the green. I stay at the Krasnopolski whenever I'm in Amsterdam. So I'm in Dam Square. I go down Dam Rack, and I always like the greenhouse. Even when Arjen was this sort of, like what Arjen knew how to do that the Dutch were a little bit behind was he knew how to cater to the North Americans.
that's it.
He
Yep,
just knew
absolutely.
how to do it. He knew how to provide exactly what they want, fucking bacon and eggs and fucking rock and roll music and like whatever, Pepsis and the whole nine
It was
yards.
super awesome. Yeah,
And he did that really well. And I, for whatever reason, I mean, look, I love the Domkring, I love the Katsu, I love the Tweed and Camera was probably one of my favorite rooms. I go there with Barge all the time, and we just hang out in the little, fucking 4 tables or whatever there is in the second room there. And some other spots that I knew about over the years, but I just loved hanging out in that one spot. And I met this girl there. Her name was Wendy, and I believe. And I remember she had this Rudraksha bead. Are you guys familiar with the Rudraksha beads from India? All the sadhus
yeah,
wear them.
yeah, yeah.
Most of the Rudraksha beads are the lines on them are called mukis. And so a 5 muki Rudraksha is a very standard Rudraksha. It's the one that they'll have their dreads wrapped. They'll have big ones, but then there are rare ones. And the rarest of all is the 1 muki. Like this thing is like expensive, dude. Like it's not a joke. Like the Indians will carve wood beads to make them look like Rudraksha because Rudraksha seeds are unbelievably beautiful. They're geometric and pattern shaped and really trippy shit. So this woman at the greenhouse had a fucking 1 muki Rudraksha. So I was like, it had to be after 98 because I had just come back from the Maha Kumbh Mela in Haridwar because I knew about this. And I said, whoa, is that a 1 muki? And she said, yeah. And I said, oh, check this one out. I just got it in India. It's a 9 muki, but it looks like Ganesh. And she was like, oh, trippy. And so I got talking with this chick. She invites me back to her apartment, and it's a grow. And this is kind of like, this is during a time where growing is not legal in Amsterdam. Like, it's totally sketchy to show a stranger your grow. Well, it
Yeah.
wasn't her grow. It was fucking one of Neville's grows. She was a grower for
No.
Neville. So I'm now at Neville's, and we're talking. Now I start talking about Zachariah Sitchin and the Anunnaki and
Awesome.
the Nephilim. And
Anunnaki.
she's like, oh, I got to call the guy who owns this place. He's gonna want to talk to you. He's all into breeding and parrots, and I'm like, oh yeah, put him on the phone, dude. So I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, hey, what's your name, dude? He's like, Neville. I'm like, Neville. I'm like, there's no fucking way, dude. He's like, yeah, Neville Schumacher. I'm like, holy shit, that's how I met Neville.
Yo,
Was through
no
this
way.
girl Wendy, who I randomly met at a coffee shop that I walked over to from the Krasnopolski. So there's a real important factor. The same way pubs have been important and the same way coffee shops have been important, it is very important for us to gather where we smoke and use cannabis because the connections that will be created in those rooms will build the future world because we've already seen it with laborers when
Yeah.
pubs first, people are drinking after a hard days of work, and the conversations that they had in those pubs shaped the world of tomorrow, as did the tea houses, as did the coffee houses, and as will the cannabis vapor lounge, whatever you want to call it, the coffee shops, whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it. We need to be
They
able.
serve a social function.
Oh my
You know,
God, dude, super
when COVID,
important.
I mean, you know this, when COVID hit, they wanted to close down the coffee shops, but government in the Netherlands, they deemed the coffee shops essential businesses.
Exactly.
So they
Canada
could
too.
not be closed down during COVID.
Yep, the
Imagine
same thing
that.
in Canada. No,
Yeah.
trust me, dude. I was blown
So
away when they did it in Canada. But on the flip side, they also made alcohol essential, not because it was essential, but because all of the alcoholics would fill the hospital beds with the fucking shakes if alcohol, no, I'm telling you the truth, dude. This was like our health person that announced this, and it is laughable and horrible, but this is the
Yeah,
facts. There are so many alcoholics in
insane.
Canada that, and we didn't have enough beds. You know, the lie was we didn't have enough beds, which, dude, what are you talking about? Like they fucking
Wasn't
came
legalization supposed to mitigate that in
legalization.
Canada? Yeah, wasn't legalization of cannabis supposed to mitigate a lot of the alcohol problems?
I think it has to a tune. I think young people drink way less now that they have
Hmm.
access to cannabis. I'm sure they would drink even less if they had access to, psychedelic gummies, LSD, and psilocybin and cactus. They do kind of. Dana Larson's amazing. He was Mark Emery's partner at Cannabis Culture and the editor for Cannabis Culture. He's got mushroom and psychedelic shops. He sells LSD and everything, just total black market, gray area, right out of a fucking shop in Vancouver. And he's got a coca leaf shop as well where he sells coca products from Colombia. Yeah, Vancouver's unique, and it's very much like Amsterdam in that sense that it's like, and I don't know how it played out in Amsterdam, probably because back in the day the Dutch were tolerant, but in Canada I don't think it played out that way. I think it played out that so many people, there's so many more serious crimes, there's so many people dying of fentanyl overdoses that
Hmm.
cannabis has never been important in the West Coast. It's just like we don't have a dollar to put into this. That's why the DEA put all that money to get Mark Emery. That wasn't Canadian
Yeah.
funds. I can promise you that. When they arrested Mark Emery, mark my words, those were American DEA dollars.
Well,
Fact.
why am I not surprised?
Yeah, well, they wanted him really bad. And funny enough, because Adam Bowen wrote a song about this, when you consume cannabis, it was talking about how the song is about when you consume cannabis, it changes you. And
Hmm.
America consumed Mark Emery, who is cannabis. So we wrote this song, and I'm telling you, Mark Emery was prosecuted. He served 5 years in prison. I thought that was very good because I thought they were going to give him the death penalty when they hit him with the kingpin law, which was like the death penalty for 1,000,000 pounds of cannabis, which they said his seeds produced
Jesus
over one
Christ.
million pounds. Yeah, it was scary. I remember having conversations with him going, dude, you can't, like, what are you going to do? You're just going to, like, he's like, I'm just going to go down and face the music. I'm like, whoa, dude, I'd be in the Yukon, bro. I don't think
No,
I could
it's
do that. It
it's
was
because
terrifying.
of
He
people
went.
like Mark, like Todd, like Steve D'Angelo.
Yeah.
Those guys were fighters, and that's something that I fear for a lot of the people that like my generation and younger, like millennials.
Yeah.
Um, you see a lot less of that. I think also due because cannabis is increasingly normalized, so to speak, and regulated.
Yeah.
But I think we're losing a little bit of that spirit.
Yeah.
Because now you should be fighters, not to do like illegal stuff, but to lead by example.
Well,
Now
you're
you
not
have
wrong that
not
legalization did affect our activism and our ability to
yeah.
practice civil disobedience because now we had something to lose. Before, we only had everything
Well,
to gain. But now
yeah,
that there's stuff to lose, it's like, ooh,
but
it's
now
scarier.
the prerogative has shifted, so it's not about like civil disobedience. Now it's like, okay, you got this chance to do it right.
That's
You
right,
have this
dude.
regulation. You have the chance of doing it right. So lead by example. Don't
And
be
help steer it
complacent.
for that
Don't
matter.
Well, look,
don't.
use us in California as an example. A bunch
There
of
we
people
go.
took their eyes off of regulations and off of overseeing it. And what happened is then other people came in and filled those holes because
Mm.
the growers were not there telling them these are the real problems. The producers were not there saying this is what's actually happening. They all decided to let other people do it. And now we're stuck, as I tell people, we're stuck with this kind of asshole kid that we raised and nobody likes because
Yeah,
we didn't guide him along the way. We didn't send him to the right schools. He hung out with a whole bunch of assholes and cops, and he ends up being a fucking complete asshole. And now
yeah.
everybody's like, why am I raising this fucking asshole? I don't like him. So you know, this is where we have to realize our responsibility. And this is where I called out a whole bunch of people in California and saying, hey, look, we all rested on our laurels. I'll take responsibility here too. I was head down doing what I needed to do. And we missed our opportunity to really make something that we can all be happy with. Canada, I mean, you're not 100% happy with it, but you worked with your legislators and it was a tete-a-tete back and forth. Whereas our people checked out. So this is where I
feel
agree.
grateful.
A whole bunch of people are disappointed, and this new generation coming up doesn't have much to fight for like we had fought for. You know, Steve D'Angelo and them really put their money where their mouth is. When I was out in Cannes in 93 and 94, it was Steve who bought our van that allowed us to literally drive around the country, right?
Yeah.
It was taking your proceeds from your illegal gains and putting it towards the opportunity for people to affect that change. Now that change has happened, everybody's like, oh, well, now I have to go to school and I have to have a job and I have to be educated like Stefan and Dom and really know things as opposed to just, you know, me sitting in my closet with a seed and a, you know, an HPS light hoping for the best, right?
Yeah. I never finished the story, but the prosecutor who prosecuted Mark Emery was the one that brought forth the legalization for the regulatory framework for legal cannabis in Washington state. So like literally after he prosecuted Mark, he was so affected by that he fought for cannabis in Washington state. It's insane, but it's kind of how it goes, you know. I mean, look at we used to protest in Vancouver like motherfuckers. We protested all the time. We were like in the streets protesting. Now, I'll be honest, when I see people protesting, they just look like assholes to me. I'm like, oh my God, did we look like that? I hope we didn't look like that. And then I think back too, what did our protesting get us? Nothing. Nothing came from protesting. What we got things from were not bucking the system, but going into the system. We went to the courts and we were like, oh, now we have to like sue the government because they're like, because you can do that. You can sue the government. Like that's what the courts are there for everyone. And so someone in Canada was like, you know, it started with Terry Parker and then a couple other key cases that happened. And it was just like, no, you know what? Fuck this. I'm right and you're wrong. And once our court cases in Canada started rolling, dude, so much more effective than protesting.
Yeah, well, you had almost what? You had almost 500 court cases across the entire country.
And better, more importantly, Etienne, they had not a leg to stand on. You didn't understand how bad the court cases were. When they came up, they're experts and stuff, they were so uneducated and so incorrect on everything that it was so easy. You bring Chris Conrad or some like cannabis guy to come in and just be like rattling off, you know, truly an expert in the field. And we just won time and time again. I'll never forget how we got hash legalized in Canada. Everything got passed in the laws. And then Owen Smith got arrested. I told the story last week with the bakery at the Ted Smith's Compassion Club in Victoria. And they were in court, and our lawyer, the lawyer, Kirk Toussaud, he's from the U.S., but he's been living in Canada for years. He's partners with Matt the Great Gardener. They do the Great Gardener legal brand. Kirk Toussaud told the judge, right now, the way the laws are written, she can grow her own plants, she can trim them and cure them. And then if she takes them and puts them in a small tea bag and puts them in hot water, she's now can face 14 years in prison because that was considered an extraction. And so the judge was like, well, no, that can't be like that. We can't, that's bad. Like this could be problematic. And so what he did was, because he didn't have the power, here's the importance of language once again. He did not have the power to change the law in Canada. So what he did was, he was a provincial judge, not a federal judge. He changed the definition. He broadened the definition of marijuana. So now instead of marijuana being just like flower, Marijuana was like any component of the marijuana plant. The seed, the oils, the trichome head, the trichome stalk, the cystolith hair, whatever it was, if you had an 8-pound license, you could have 8 pounds of any of those things. You could have 8 pounds of THCA. You could have, he just turned the term marijuana, which is the M-A-R-I-H-U-A-N-A, no J, right? The old school prohibition version. And yeah, fucking overnight, we were allowed to make hash. All the medical patients in British Columbia overnight were now allowed to make hash. And that fucked the federal government for the rest of Canada, because overnight, the rest of the provinces were like, we want hash too. What the fuck? And so it's like, do we have to take you to court and win, or no? Like literally within 6 months, the federal government broadened the term, the definition. They were like, this is the smartest way to do it. Let's just broaden it as a federal rule. And now it's across the board and everyone can do extracts, because cannabis is cannabis. Cannabis isn't some, there's no, your definition and my definition, it doesn't matter if they don't align, as long as cannabis is cannabis. You know?
And so like we have the opposite now happening in the US with the hemp seeds, right? The definition of hemp seed.
Yeah.
So I'm not really optimistic how that's gonna play out, you know.
Well, but you have to understand, when they made that mistake and released that, the farm bill the way they did, that was like opening a Pandora's box. That was like, first of all, I will always fight over my own economic growth for access. So it created access, no problem. It created, obviously, the type of access it created had problems with it, obviously, because sketch balls are going to come into it. It also, you know, went from $50,000 a kilo to $600 a kilo pretty fast because of no regulations. So there, you know, sometimes regulations can protect an industry. For instance, Canada has a regulation that you can't import cannabis into Canada. Why is that? Because they saw billions of dollars of infrastructure getting put in, and then Colombia or India coming online and fucking being like, yeah, we got 4,000 tons of flour and hash that we want to sell you. So the way Canada protected our industry is they made it so we can export everywhere, because we're first to market and first to licensing on a federal level, in the G7 at least, that we end up being positioned that that's our value, more than like trying to import. Because I always thought it would be cool to import Cali bud and Lebanese hash and like into Canada, but the way our regulations are written now, that can't happen, which is unfortunate, but it does protect the industry, and it does protect your ability to, you know, if you're building a company like Inexo or whatever, it makes you feel more comfortable that, okay, this industry.
Yeah, for sure.
Because listen, India, if India ever decides to grow weed, and just like, you don't understand, like they have the farmland, they have the labor, they have the actual knowledge of like
the terroir.
Everything, dude. Everything. That India is a real threat to global cannabis, in my opinion, if they ever become federally legal. You know, and I don't, when I say threat, I don't mean it, I don't think of it as a bad thing. For me, it's all about access. And I'm like Dave, I'm not fighting for cannabis access for any particular group to profit from it. If I can profit, great. If you guys can profit, amazing. If someone else can profit, great. If someone I don't even know, who fucking cares? I want to be able to go right today and go into a store and buy 10 grams of full melt dry sift heads of pure haze. And I can't.
Now, I just saw like Nepal legalized it this week, or a province in
They go
Nepal.
back and forth.
Yeah, and India is moving in that direction as well.
Yeah, well, they're another. Yeah, we'll see.
Now, will Mamdi's government allow it, or do you think it'll have to be someone else in the future?
Future. I'm also convinced, you know, because of, and nothing against what you guys are doing in Canada, which is fabulous, but it has to be produced locally to make sense from a price perspective. I mean, how are only a few privileged Indians would be able to enjoy, you know, Canadian products? And so, by all means, start by that. But also because of all the international laws and the, you know, the import-export of controlled substance, it makes so much more sense that every country has its own reality and its own growing
100%.
going on.
The only reason Canada is doing what they're doing is because our market is so tiny for the infrastructure of cannabis that got built there. Because you have to keep in mind, tons of our companies are American owned, right? These are American companies positioning themselves for global cannabis export and import, right? And their beverage companies, Constellation Brands, gave $4 billion to the Canopy Growth company. I can't
Yeah.
even imagine who Terry was pulling money from into Aurora, but it was $100 million checks, $100 million checks. And when I saw that, I was like, well, this is never going to be paid back in like selling
Nope.
grams in Winnipeg.
Nope.
But because they saw a much wider picture, they saw that the rest of the countries are going to be so slow that there's going to be a 5 to 10 year period where Canada will be able to dominate in creating a supply chain. And once they create that supply chain strong enough, even though each country, it'll only make sense for them to eventually build their own infrastructure and grow their own flower, depending on the growth of just basically brokering flower. That's what you're doing. You're a broker. And the broker has very little overhead compared to the fucking, I'm just going to build the grow, the dispensary, the hash making lab, the everything vertically integrated. It's a lot. And it seems like the most successful companies in this day and age, they don't own things.
No, they're the brokers.
They're the brokers, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is what I see time and time again happening here in Europe is they make contracts with a licensed producer for, let's say, 5 tons of a variety that maybe contains 25% THC. And so months go by before that product hits their doorstep, so to speak. And by that time, there's a good chance that they got an offer of another company that has a variety of 30%. And so then the broker comes back to you and say, hey, I want to revisit our contract. You need to get me a variety of 30%. Well,
Yeah.
I don't have that, says the licensed producer. Oh, no problem. We're going to buy off your neighbors and we're going to have you just sit on that 25%.
100%.
And so they not only control effectively the production chain, but they also control the narrative towards patients, towards pharmacies. And that's a big problem.
Yeah. But they
That's
did
a
in the
big
black
problem.
market
Then we
back
should
in
really
the day
give
too. Those buyers always controlled everything because without them, like no one was selling.
Yeah, and then we should
Yeah,
really give these people some of that haze, which is 12%, and then they're gonna realize how stupid this entire marketing concept that the higher THC makes the higher prices. And I'm 100% sure, and we had the discussion with Dominic at Inexo last time, but I'm sure that there is many other receptors, which is not just the CB1, which we know is activated by THC, that play that high effect, and we still not really aware. I mean, we know that so some terpinolene and pinene and things is present in haze, and the other thing we were also discussing is how it's so stronger at the beginning. No, it's also when you go to a festival, the first drop of LSD is so much more devastating than the other, and then there is a sort of a saturation, and you're back. Okay, now I taste it, but it's not. But the first joints of haze at 12% THC. They are so much more intense than a 40% boring indica,
Dude, I'll tell you though,
yeah.
let me tell you, one of the most intense joints I had recently was my friend Ro. He has a company called If You Know, You Know, IYKYK. And he sells these doinks with a half a gram of rosin in them, and they're 2.5 gram joints. And it's all organic. It's all like just blast tip with the spiral filter in the tip.
My kind of joint.
And dude, listen, we're at this new venue for smoking that our friend Andrew created in Vancouver. It's kind of a private place right now, but it'll eventually be public and really beautiful and just a great place to go and sesh. And we're there, and he pulls out this Seedsman Haze joint, 2.5 grams. And we go into the smoking room, and there's like 8 other guys, so I'm like, I'll probably get a couple puffs off this thing. None of them want to smoke it. They're all scared. So me and Ro puff this thing, just the two of us. And I knew I was going to enjoy myself. It wasn't until we walked outside and he goes, whoa, I'm really high. And when he said that, I swear to God, my head rocketed off my body and just shot into the stratosphere. And I was like, just for a split second, I had anxiety, and then it disappeared, and I was just like, oh my God, this is the nicest high I think I've ever had. Went and enjoyed it for, I bet you I was high on that joint for an hour and a half, which is saying something for flower. And, you know, like it just kept me, I'd smoke a joint and be not high 5 minutes later. This thing,
Yeah.
we were rippling and we were laughing and we were like, it was almost like a mild dose of mushrooms. Like we're giggling,
But
we're like, we're talking,
you
all
know,
these guys that are around. I was like, you're lucky you didn't smoke this joint. You'd have been like, and Ro was like, oh, my favorite part about smoking it is, you know, watching people have anxiety attacks with it.
you know what? Like when you hear the stereotypical effects in cartoons, like on cannabis, like
Yes.
some of them are more LSD-like. I bet you that haze or those equatorials were largely responsible for people perceiving the effects in this kind of a way.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot more. It plays a lot more on the emotions instead of numbing you down. So your emotions get amplified, and a lot of the anxiety comes from that initial, you know, shock of onset. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is real.
Well, it's your
Because
reaction
it's
to
not.
it, right?
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
reacting to it that's like, did you spike adrenaline? Because that's going to make your reaction even more intense, you know? Like,
So like a lot of the indicas, it you want to dull your emotions basically, right?
mhm.
With the equatorials and the haze, you turn the emotions up to 10.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's why I
telling you,
like
I
it, but
don't pity
That's
you. I
also why
envy
I'm
you.
scared of it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I said, I don't pity you. I envy you. I'd
yeah.
love to go into the grow every day and just see hazes. And I'll get there. You know, I'm in Canada, so it's a little bit
So,
dichotomous growing hazes up in Canada.
well, we could use some good interns, Marcus.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. No, that
Yeah,
is
I
exactly
think
true.
it's time we start to consider a tunnel from Vancouver to Amsterdam. You know, just a direct.
Wait,
You
did
know,
y'all
those.
see they found a supposedly a 7 mile tunnel into Burning Man this week that literally
What?
led into town into a warehouse.
No way.
Yeah,
7 miles?
7.4 miles,
So what
something
is
like
the purpose for that?
Yeah, I
getting
was
their
being
drugs in and
Being
out
American.
of Burning Man.
Yeah, but I mean, I get like building a 1 mile tunnel that just costs so much time and energy to whatever
Yeah,
smuggle your
it depends
kilos.
on how much you ask for them to go through the tunnel.
Well, that's just it. What are they? Yeah, I guess
How
it's
much do you
a lot
charge?
of rich people go to Burning Man, hey?
yeah. Again, sorry, I'm bringing back my idea of the parachutes. Cheaper.
Cheaper.
Dude, listen, you know what I freaked out about today? I was driving on the highway with Luke, and I'm like, bro, I think there's a drone flying above us. He's like, oh, yeah, that's just the police. They monitor the highways with the drones. I was like,
Yeah,
what the? I was like, really? Are you serious? Shouldn't me?
I
And then
haven't
we,
even seen that.
I saw three more right after that.
Holy crap.
Yeah, you're going to lose your mind, dude. I was thinking about you, actually. I was like, Aaron's not going to like this. Not going to like
It's
this.
almost like everything that you ever see in a sci-fi cartoon is gonna come to pass
It's all
pretty
the
soon.
Jetsons. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? It is
Yeah.
coming to pass. What are you talking about? All this stuff is science fiction is like us. Listen, all I know is this: when we say it, when we start saying it,
Yeah.
that's what it does, right? What did the
Puts it
DMT
out there.
elves? What did the DMT elves say to Terrence McKenna the first time he saw them? Right? They were jumping in and out of his chest, and they said, "Don't be amazed, just do what we are
We
doing."
do.
And what they
Yeah.
were doing was creating three-dimensional objects with their voices, which to me is a metaphor for creating reality with your voice,
Yeah. Yeah.
with your words, right? Your
yeah.
intention. It's like it's a thought, then it becomes a vibration and a frequency that you put out into this like it just blew my mind the first time I read that. I think he wrote it in True Hallucinations or whatever when
Mm-hmm.
he was like,
That's
being
correct.
a student of the LSD of Albert Hoffman, I thought nothing of this dimethyltryptamine. It's like, yeah, okay, buddy.
Well,
Uh,
I saw when I was in it, I saw them, they were always chipping away and working and creating something all in the ethers and the sides. So yeah, I agree. You can see all
those
kinds of crazy shit.
those self dribbling machine elves. as
Yeah.
Terrence like to call it. You know,
The
Those
self-reflecting
are the
machine elves
builders of reality, man.
dribbling in and out of my chest.
Yeah.
The self-reflecting machine elves.
I'm gonna listen to that YouTube tonight
Do you want to
for
listen to
sure.
my favorite Terence McKenna lecture?
Which one?
It's called Psilocybins in the Sands of Time, and it's from the Esalen Institute. I think
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
82.
yeah, 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 yeah,
It
yeah, yeah,
is,
yeah,
it
yeah.
is, listen,
That's
it's
amazing.
amazing. It is amazing.
I'm gonna bookmark that.
It's my all-time favorite. So anyone watching,
Dude,
I don't just say this shit. Like I'm telling you, if you listen to it, you will be. Now it's going to be a shitty recording. It's going to be very high treble. So if you're an
What?
audiophile, don't even bother. Audiophiles won't be able to listen to it. But
Just
anyone
just
else, you're good.
focus on Terrence's eloquent speech and his tone of voice and his timbre,
Dude. You
and
know what
you'll be good.
my favorite quote in that talk is these substances do not bathe the ego in a cloud of certitude. He was talking about mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms. I was like, ain't that the truth? God
So
damn.
imagine if Terrence McKenna would still be alive today in the age of AI.
That'd be awesome.
Imagine what he would come up with, tinkering away with. I
Well, he
mean,
said
if I
it.
see
He
the
said
stuff
it was going
that
to get
Stefan
weirder and
does
weirder and weirder.
with Claude, I mean, you know.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, that's what he said though. He prophesized it that it would just
Yeah.
keep getting weirder and weirder and
Weirder.
weirder. You know, and it has certainly gotten weirder. Holy shit.
Yeah. And so, Marcus, let me ask you, you know, any of you or the gang use AI in your companies already?
Yeah, I play around with it. Absolutely. I do. To me, it's like another tool. So I mean, listen, whether people like it or not, like it's super helpful for me to create a thumbnail every week. I'm not a Photoshop guy. I'm not an expert at this, that, or the other thing. Like for so on the simplest level. Now, on a more complicated level, we hired a guy in Colorado to do some work for us for hash hits, and we spent like $1,500, and we were waiting a while. And when we finally saw the work, it just wasn't good. It was really bad, and I dragged it into like ChatGPT and said, can you make this way better on every level with blue backlit lights, my wizard in the background watermark to the street? Like it made it in 3 seconds. And I was like, wow, I just spent $1,500 on something that's not that good. Hey, welcome, Xavier. Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, you always come in on mute. It's a default. He'll figure that out. Here, I can send you because you're on a phone. There you go. You figured it out. Oh, you've muted again. Oops, asked to unmute. There we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Javier only joined because he saw I was on, and he said, "I'm not getting through to this guy, so let me get through to him through Hat Church." Isn't that right, Javier?
That would be amazing, dude. If he just came in and said, Dom, so listen, those emails I've been sending you.
That's it. That's all I needed to say. You guys said it for me, so thank you very much. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Well, I don't use AI in my cannabis business, but we use it, of course, in all of our policy work at the, you know, at the national and international level, because it helps us,
dude,
process things quicker, as well as gives us legislation for other countries, diplomats, etc. That, you know, people have to understand. Just providing a simple thing of being a transfer of just legislation to a electoral person, depending on where they are in a country, etc., can have a considerable difference, because our politicians are not very intelligent. They don't write legislation like they used to. So what we learn to do is take the legislation to them.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
write it, you take it to them, and then they you pass it off to them, and then they go off and they take it as their own flag. So that's something that we have found very helpful in the sense of the persuading of our politicians into understanding their problems that they're having, and to help them understand them quicker.
The low-hanging fruit as well, I run contracts through it, and I'll ask a simple question like, does this work? Is this a fair contract? Does it work more in my favor or less in my favor? Can you point out the parts where I might want to be careful, where it opens up for interpretation? And it's been unbelievable. And for a while, I would get it checked by lawyers, and after a while I was like, yeah, I don't have to pay these guys for these simple things either. And I found a bunch of different things like that. I designed my course, which is a 69-page course, which I'm going to be doing tomorrow for Aaron and a bunch of people that are going to be at the Mock Technologies event. That's like the most in-depth water hash, dry sifting, freeze drying, rosin pressing, like from A to B, all the way through all of the processes with super in-depth notes and stuff. Like AI helped me enormously with that, like took hours off the timeline. And yeah, I
Is that going to include?
also, what's that? Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm curious if it's going to include the cryo trim from the resonator.
I haven't been cryo trimming from the resonator myself yet, but I am very close with TJ, and I've had a lot of conversations with him. And I'm going to go to Sonoma County, where he lives here, probably in September, and kind of get into playing around with that, because I definitely think, I mean, listen, from day one, when I first saw the cryo can, and before, when Indra came on Hash Church like 10 years ago and told us all about liquid nitrogen, because of course Indra was doing that way before anyone, which is super basic, simple, but like when you make the trichomes, that, like, it was counterintuitive to me to smash up flour that's been had liquid nitrogen poured over it and then like sift it over screens, because I thought, oh my God, the leaf is going to be like just like dust. But it didn't work like that. It made the resin so cold that the resin was super easy to isolate and separate from. And you could get a very high percentage of heads doing a simple liquid nitrogen extraction. And I know in my heart that with cannabis, one of the biggest values are the volatile organic compounds. And so a cold supply chain, and as cold as possible from as early on as possible, will preserve, more of those from the get-go. Now, I don't pretend to know if that's good or not. We used to cure monoterpenes out, and now we're smoking them, and they are caustic and they are like rough on the throat. I don't feel any worse off myself after 20 years of smoking dabs with 10+% terpenes, and who knows
How would
what
you know?
percentage of. What's that?
How would you know?
How would I know what?
How would you know? You've been smoking all the time.
Well, but not joints, only vaporizing full melt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, for a while, we
Okay.
got out of control. We were doing the terpenes when Tony started Blue River Extracts, and I had Blue River Extracts Canada, and we were doing the
Yeah.
terpenes. That got crazy because we were looking for the boundary, and we found it. Like, it's like you shouldn't. There's definitely a threshold for inhaling volatile organic compounds.
Yes.
You can't just go to 87% Vox. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even like 16% to me is like terpenes. 16% terpenes is insane.
I dabbed with Ted from Alien Labs some Skittles
Yeah.
sauce, and that was just a pure throat burn.
Yeah,
Just
I did it. Also, not that same thing, but we were dabbing just terpenes at one point in time, like just like putting them on the fucking sapphire dish, turning it way down, and chemists were like, "You did what? Like, what were you doing?" It's like, oh yeah, like it's probably good to have it be a part of the cannabis plant. This, I've talked about this a few times, but just there are components that make inhaling these resins safe for us, like safer than, not, which is why we're not all getting lung ailments and lung cancers for being chronic cannabis users.
Am I the only one that right now picturing, these aromatherapy dudes and dudettes, getting their essential oils and putting them in a dab rig?
Right? Oh my God. Dabbing out like geranium.
Yeah, what is for sure, we don't know so much. I mean, there is not really a human clinical trials with terpenes, plus and then there is the synergy when you put them together, so that needs to be known. But many of those receptors, they have a point of saturation. There is, not always when you take more, you have more effect. That is, especially when you ingest.
How many receptors are there? And like, what are the non-perceivables? Because we talk about cannabis like it's cannabinoids and terpenes, and that's just not accurate. We dismiss thiols and thiolates and aldehydes and esters because they happen in such smaller numbers. But things like thiols, which our nose is probably 1,000x more susceptible to smelling because of our olfactory relationship with these compounds for however many thousands or millions of years. The fact that we smell a thiol, it could be 0.00001%, and it's like the
Agreed.
most dominant thing in the bag. It's garlic or whatever.
Yeah,
It's that funk.
Marcus, you and I discussed this on stage
I
back
agree.
in Barcelona at ICBC.
That's right.
We were talking about the sensitivity to these types of molecules and how small they are and how difficult they are for modern machinery to detect them. But the human has this amazing capacity to be able to detect them, and it's something evolutionary that we've had from those times when methane was erupting from lakes, and you'd have to know. If you were about to die or not, right? That's why we could detect a fart. Wherever it's pretty easy to.
What do they put into
Good point.
gas that they move through cities? It's illegal to move odorless gas through cities.
Right.
What do they put in?
That's
Ethyl
correct.
mercaptine. What is ethyl mercaptine? It's rotten eggs.
Yeah, it's a thiol, right?
And
It's
they put that in there very specifically because you want to smell it early.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And here's the
Yeah.
other thing. You will be very hard set to find anyone in life, unless they have no olfactory whatsoever, who's blind to thiols. You can be blind to terpenes. You can have blind spots to a lot of different smells, but thiols are not things that humans are generally blind to.
Oh yeah, it's very basic. It's the flight or fight response almost, right? It's immediate.
It's
Marcus,
connected to life.
I did have a question for you. I'm curious why the general non-cannabis populace does not refer to any of these aromas
Yeah,
as
it's a survival mechanism.
I'm watching like videos and I hear they were watching saying orange esters. He didn't say orange terpenes. It's not in the common vernacular of people who are not cannabis smokers to use the word terpenes when they refer to smell or aromas that are coming, being citric or whatever. I wonder why that is.
Someone want to say something before I answer?
Yeah, it's not because it's always terpenes. Sometimes it is esters. It is aldehyde.
Yeah. I think our world is so terpene dominant, and because it's such like terpene dominant in the sense that it's the highest percentage of component of flavor and smell on the plant, terpenes and terpenoids. You know what I mean? Thiols and esters, and these things happen in a much smaller percentage. Cannabis is a very unique plant. The fact that it's producing as much of these compounds as it is pretty spectacular when you think about it. You don't see too many plants in nature that are like the laboratory that is the glandular trichome from the cannabis plant. It's kind of fucking amazing.
Which
We really
leads to
like it.
think that which leads to think later on, Marcus, sorry to interrupt you, but that capacity to be able to produce these metabolites, if you're able to engineer the plant, you could theoretically produce other metabolites as well. And it's like one of the greatest vehicles to be able to produce chemical compounds.
Dude, I always thought when food companies, even when I met the general himself, Larry from General Hydroponics, which is a fucking great guy, by the way. And all these other guys from these salt companies, I said, listen, and then I think it was when I first saw that the terpinator. I'm like, listen, bro, like what really you need to do is you guys need to start developing food that you can prove that you can either enhance or produce something that's not like, let this plant express something, give it the building blocks of what the plant needs to produce all of these components. And those are basically plastids and thiols, right? Plastids and thiols are the building blocks inside the glandular trichome that are producing CBGA and then everything from that. So let's find a way to manipulate the production of those. And maybe that's the wrong pathway, but these guys are like, we're trying to produce vegetative yields. I'm like, I get the vegetative yield thing, but we're kind of moving away from that a little bit. In the pharma world, it's milligrams, right? It's still yield, but it's not vegetative yield because vegetative yields means nothing. What is the milligrams of medicinal components that you produced? Because that's the only thing that's real. The other thing is an illusion. It's smoke and mirrors. And it can cause problems, especially we talked about it earlier with bound and unbound water and the way you cure the flower and the way whether you hold that moisture content in there for natural weight or whether you uncork it and then end up with like the Colorado weed, which is just like, Luke
I think there's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
I found a sweet spot. For me, it's 10.5 LOD. That's the sweet spot, especially in particular for long-term storage, to withstand a rise in microbiology over shipping continents, and to be able to find a stable level of microbiology upon arrival and opening.
Well, we were talking about it earlier, and EU GMP companies, to play it safe, they go down very low on the active water, so low that they're actually removing bound water, and they're reducing the weight of their crop by about 7%. Because they're also irradiating, so they're like doing both of these things, right? They're so afraid of microbial yeast and molds. Those are the things that, from a cannabis perspective, will just make the product unsellable.
To be fair, they're remediating. They're not always irradiating.
Yeah,
They
remediating, same. Different
yeah,
methods, but
well,
reducing
they might
microbial
they might
count.
be they might be using, for example, cryopasteurization. That's
Okay.
right. So that wouldn't be irradiation. They are using radio frequency. But yes, like technically it is treated, and they make claims that it's not damaging a flower, but I've yet to see. It's what, it's not just that, it's the moment a flower leaves a facility, if it's not treated, as you mentioned, in that perfect cold chain, the moment it hits it, even a dispensary, if it's sitting at room temperature in a sealed bag for weeks at a time, the grower who smokes it and releases that batch is going to have a very different experience if he walks into a dispensary a few months later and he picks out that same bag.
Oh yeah, which he should. I implore all of you growers to go to your dispensary and pick up a bag from a month or two old. In Canada, the first packaging that we had were these sort of, not cellophane, kind of styrofoamy, but that sealant, right? The thing that seals the jar. And the glue that they were using, they didn't realize how caustic volatile organic compounds were. They also didn't realize that in the active water, it pressurizes. When they're boiling off of the bud and not in no cold chain, they're pressurizing the unit. So when you open the cap, you could see kind of a little bubble on this thing. Well, a lot of them didn't have the bubble anymore. And what they were doing was D-limonene probably, or something like it, was consuming the glue and creating a fissure in the glue and popping that seal. So now there was a microscopic hole that it could exhaust these terpenes out of, carrying with it water and moisture. And by the time you got the weed, even like a month later, you cracked the jar and the weed was just like poof. And that was kind of some of the first herb in the legal Canadian market. And all because of a glue that people weren't considering, that was present, that was being consumed very easily. And these are, with cannabis, you really have to keep in mind, even the jar. If you're putting a lid on a jar and that lid has rubber or glue or anything like that on that lid, I mean, even you must remember old mason jars, that rubber gasket on the top, just like you could peel it off with your finger after, if you kept a jar for a long time, the terps just eat it. It's just consuming the seal whole, which is a little bit scary from the perspective of I was telling, I think it might have been you the other day, because he's medical patient and not in the legal framework, not in the black market either, but in the medical. And so it's different when you have to. I was telling him how we had a contest called Heady Happenings that happened in Vancouver not too long ago. It's a high-end hash snobbery. Kyle LeGros puts it on. It's a nice event. He gets Mothership involved, and it's just, it's a good vibe, food and whatnot. And 30 or so people, and don't quote me on these numbers, but it was 6 or 7 failed out of 30 for like Eagle 20 and Avid and like things that just should not be fucking sprayed on the plant. And I remember being on that side. I remember coming from legacy and moving into legal and hearing Chads be like, oh, it's so much safer. The cannabis that we're producing is so much safer. And I was like, dude, that's just ridiculous. Like, what do you think? People are out there selling poison? Then I realized they are actually out there selling poison. People are actually, I've seen it in Jamaica, people spraying the most toxic and fucking like fungicides and like deadly shit that if you smoke that, you will get sick. And then I know what's happening in North America where people are like, because here's the thing, it's not like they're necessarily evil people that want to spray the plant with poison. Sometimes in Jamaica, the guy's like, I can't lose this field, bro. I just got these fucking caterpillars. They're eating fucking everything. I can't track them down. And if they eat my whole field, I'm fucked. I'm going to be more fucked than I currently am. And I'm actually pretty fucked right now. So it's like it's this force that you get pushed into, that they're getting pushed into, where they got to use these chemicals. Well, the legal system doesn't give a fuck how fucked you are. You're gonna have to fucking pay off the lab if you think you're gonna be able to sell fucking Eagle 20 into the fucking legal market in Canada, because there are strict regulations and strict testings, and they'll catch you if you do that. And it's like, I never thought that was the truth, and now it's like, well, it's like the taxes. Do you think anyone would pay taxes if they didn't have fear of going to jail?
That's exactly like going back a half hour into this conversation. I said lead by example, but you still have those licensed producers that will buy the lab, that will buy the result.
Yeah, well, people can
No,
buy that material from the store and go get it independently tested, and they do that in Canada. There are definitely groups going to dispensaries and buying shit and getting it tested. So it's like, it's a dangerous game to play, and it puts your shit at risk in a huge way. And honestly, it should be a fucking criminal charge.
Quick story. This is a real story from a licensed producer in the Middle East, if you can believe it. One of 2 licenses in this country, and they were testing positive for pesticides, and they were not spraying pesticides on their flower. And it took a while to figure out, and it was not coming off the walls or anything else. Eventually, they figured out that there was a pesticide factory like 50 kilometers away. And because it's in the Middle East and it's somehow government intervened these licenses, they shut down the facility, or the pesticide factory overnight.
That's what's up.
Yeah, which is no red tape in this country at all. It's unseen in anything like it. But I thought that was an interesting anecdote.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, because when you're trying to keep things, it's who your neighbors are is very much. I remember the first time I went to Rubicon Organics, and they're like, yeah, we're an organic facility. And I'm like, but you have a blueberry and a raspberry farm next to you on either side. I'm like, how are you managing this? This is unbelievable to me. Like, because they have powdery mildew problems on both of those. So I don't know what their IPM process was, but it must have been the most organic IPM process possible, because there's no way they were sulfurating and doing other things and not contaminating that farm. But Rubicon Organics, time and time again, passes. And if you buy their brand, Simply Bare, it's actually really nice cannabis. I just bought their Tangerine Sunrise, and it smells and tastes and looks exactly like sweet skunk. It's like, it's got to be a 1-to-1 terpenoline to osamine, because it's just got this super, super sweet skunk familiar flavor. And I've been smoking sweet skunk for probably 30 years, so I know it very well. I was next to the source for a good long while, where it was easy to buy bags of that particular variety in Vancouver. Really, thanks to breeder Steve. He kind of made that strain possible. And I'll tell you, it was very haze-like, with and I don't know if it's the osamine, Dom, but it cuts the terpene. There's just no anxiety induction whatsoever with sweet skunk. Sweet skunk, my wife, who has an uber sensitivity to THC, like, she'll drink a 2 milligram can of drink and drink less than half of it and be like, ooh, I really feel that. Like 1 milligram she's feeling. So she is very sensitive to cannabis, and the only cannabis she has ever enjoyed vaporizing is this sweet skunk. She loves haze. She loves the smell of haze, but she doesn't like the anxiety and the getting anxiety induced like that. But yeah,
could be the pinene, perhaps a slight bit of linalool if it's in there.
There's nothing like the haze to cut through a room. I've been in rooms of smokers where I busted out the haze before, and everyone just completely not turned their head. This by the way was with the A male, so it was with the A terps. So this would have been like the more sandalwood liver, darker red meat, more than the lemon and pine. Yeah. But like a skunk haze or an A5, you bust that out in a room, and just people it's incredible how It just slices through the room.
Listen, it attracts people to you to the point where I would have to roll. I was a taper. I would go to concerts and I would record with my DAT recorder and a little microphone. And if it wasn't fish, well, then I wasn't allowed to have like a mic stand or anything. I had to like do it low key. And so I would always be smoking haze and people would come over. And this is one of my favorite things about Renee, which it had to be some type of a skunk haze because it smelled like skunk and fruit in the bag, but it tasted and exhaled as haze, like pure fucking perfume. That exact thing you're talking about, where people are like, "What the fuck is that?" And so it attracted people to me. And what I would have to do, because they'd come over and be like, "Wow, man, I don't know what I should make recordings of my tapes. I should go find my recordings and make some recordings of people going, 'Hey, man, that smells amazing. What is that, man? Is that like a haze or something? Oh, yeah, man, it's so exotic. Oh, is that a microphone? Are you taping right now? Oh, shit, that's super cool, man. Hey, if I gave you my name and address, could I get a call?'" I'm like, "Oh, my God, you think hey, is that a microphone? You fucking get it." So I would have like 10 extra joints rolled because there'd only be like, 4 or 5 of those guys per concert that would come over, and I would just give them one and be like, here's a joint. It's the same stuff. I only have one rule. You got to smoke it on the other side of the room so they get to smell some of that good smell too. Meantime, it's like, fuck off, dude. I'm trying to record the show. Obsession. I was obsessed for a while with recording music. I recorded so
Marcus,
much good music.
thanks for sharing, man. Hey, I got to drop off because my cell phone's battery is dying and I'm nowhere near my house yet. So,
Hey, thanks for coming in, dude. I appreciate you.
I'm also
appreciate
going
all you
to jump
guys.
out. Thank you so much for the
Stefan.
church moment. Yes, I feel the blessings.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to the parachute, bro.
Yes, the parachute's coming to a Switzerland near you.
Bye, guys.
Actually, you know what? We're just
Bye,
going to put
Dom.
it right on
Bye,
Swiss
Stefan.
Air. Peace
Thank
out,
you.
everybody.
Thank you. Peace.
I'll roll for a little bit longer. I'm not going to do a full 4-hour hash church, but I'd love to hear more from you, Xavier. How have you been, dude? What have you been up to?
I'm doing well out in Spain, in the part safe from the fires, just south of Barcelona. But yeah, on the water, so we have one direction to run. We'll be all right. Not like the Palisades, but yeah, doing okay. Doing some advisory work here in the pharma space, focusing on microbiological reduction, having a lot of facilities with failed batches because of these high problems with TAMC and TYMC. And although they'll throw a lot of mental effort in trying to solve the problem, sometimes it just takes experience and having seen it over and over, and with that specific lens. So that's one of the things that I'm working on.
Explain a little bit about that to the audience.
Yeah, so you are able to react and start preventing some of these problems in real time, and not just waiting for a COA to see how you are progressing batch to batch. I, for example, collaborating with one of the larger LPs in Canada. They produce 7-8 tons a month, 150 flowering rooms, and they have like a very, very, very high rejected internal battery that needs to be sent off to remediation, and it's somewhere between like 20 and 30%. Obviously, I can't say who. So these types of challenges become a strict bottleneck for lots of producers, and oftentimes they get kind of they just give up and they just accept it as a reality. And then they send it off to remediation, and they have to spend money on that. And they usually get a little bit lower price point for that type of flower that's gone through that process as well.
Sure.
So the idea is to start treating things upstream and start working with things that can, in real time, monitor and prevent these types of things. So, for example, there's one company in the world that developed a biofilm monitor that goes inside of your irrigation lines. And the very first presence and detection of biofilm is called ERP. It forms a matrix, and it becomes you can detect its presence in real time with electronic signals. So the moment it starts installing on your lines, you start getting a hit. You can introduce a cleaning system, and then you can start revising your water treatment system upstream. And putting these biofilm monitors across your facility before your water treatment, after the water treatment, before your skid, after your skid, kind of just gives you a baseline and a true interpretation of any type of thread that's being installed in your lines. That's one of the major choke points for microbiology, is the threads that are in this type of water, and it's normally forming and developing on the surface of the lines, not in the water itself. It's different types of bacteria that are free floating in the water or attaching to the surface of the irrigation lines. It's called sessile or planktonic, and the other is hundreds of times easier to kill and to treat as well as detecting. So it's the one that's forming on the surface of the lines that are the trickiest and the scariest, and this is I guess like an ultimate safety net to be able to detect it and to start doing something about it. So that's one of the cool things that we're working on. We're also using air particle counters regularly now, and we're mapping our airborne threats. Depending on the particle size, on the micron of it, we're able to correlate it to different types of threats, whether it be like a dust or a mold spore or anything like this. And then once we have a baseline, then you're able to go in with an air sampler and get a real picture of what exactly the threat is. And then you start plugging holes and tracing the threats all the way from outside of your facility through your ante-room, all the way through your production process, and then release. So that's one of the other things that allows you to have an idea of some of the threats, the invisible threats that are affecting batches as well. So yeah, that's just some of the stuff. So
that's incredible, dude. I love the idea of perceiving the unperceivable, right? These are the things that most people just aren't perceiving. Like you say, they just end up giving up. They just end up just allowing it to become systemic and a massive problem in the facility. And it's like the fact that you know the terminology, and it's like these biofilms, and now we've located them, and it's like these are, they're vectors for these particular problems that can occur. And now you're measuring the air, and then obviously creating an audit process for the SOPs that are taken into place so that the audit can find any weaknesses or any vectors that allow for these contaminations to occur.
right, because it's sometimes yeah. I mean, normally it's three things, right? Normally it's the facility retrofit, company culture, and equipment that you see, right? And just being able to map how threats are entering the facility, why they're replicating. It's just the lens that you have to sift through, right? So eventually you find the choke points. Usually there's several. Some are going to be more critical than others. But the idea is often the throw the kitchen sink approach. But first you must go and dig deep, right? So this is a fun challenge, but it's curious because oftentimes these companies will have dedicated scientists and sometimes engineers or people who work in the pharma space previously. These are smart people. They dedicate enough time and resource. They should be able to solve these problems. However, they aren't. And sometimes I chalk it down to potentially flying the airplane, and it's hard to, do repairs on a flying plane, or simply sometimes they just lack the perspective from having dealt with these types of scenarios over and over, which I get access to these types of facilities as an advisor and eventually get called in to solve these types of problems. But yeah, one of the things that I can tell your audience as a really easy way for home growers to start with mapping some of these threats is to get yourself a UVA flashlight. You can get a good one on Amazon for $80, $100, $200 with a lens on, not UVC, UVA, and hitting the walls or surfaces at a 45-degree angle will illuminate any type of threats. You can use them when you turn off the lights in your grow rooms to identify mildew or botrytis that is growing early. You can also use it in the post-harvest process to sift through flowers. A curious note is that botrytis infestation is not always as visible as you might think. So we normally think that botrytis is very visible when you crack open the flower, like if it's covered in botrytis, or even if it's just a little bit, you can see it, right? And just with the bare eye. I've had cases where doing that same process with a flower that looked absolutely perfect, and then with the UVA flashlight, just seeing an absolute just mess of fuzz inside that flower that wasn't on the outside, really made me think that this type of thread is not always seen. I've used these before on these flashlights on the trays that they use in the pharma drying process, where they're trimming and bucking wet, and they're drying in these trays in these special type of drying rooms. And when the flowers are removed, before they go through the cleaning process, I've hit the UVA flashlight on them, and they're just covered in just white mold completely. So yeah, that's an easy little tip for listeners and growers at home to be able to bring on board. And then one of the cooler things that we're working on now is something called ATP bioluminescence, where we're using a swabbing technique on surfaces to verify how effective our cleaning or disinfection process was. So after you're cleaning your grow room, after you reset, after a harvest, you might clean, you might remove all of the organic matter, substrates, trellis, all that type of stuff. You might go in and scrub with foam of different types of chemicals, and then you assume that everything is fine. Well, you can verify that. You can swab it and use, excuse me, a swabber and type of bioluminescence light is shown upon it. And you can quantify the amount of organic matter that's left on the swab and tell you if your cleaning procedure needs to be verified or validated or repeated or updated. So that's another cool little way that you know we're bringing a little bit of better data to this type of microbiology process. So.
Fucking awesome, man. It's super important. You know, people can complain and bitch and whine and moan about large companies that are pumping out massive amounts of herb, but you're actually helping them make it cleaner. You know, like just like create the SOPs, create the protocols, create the audits, create the thing is a lot of people would not have any idea how to execute this and to create those protocols, let alone if they did, they would probably not know how to then create an auditing system that could allow you to find the holes or the gaps or, you know, whatever's kind of missing there. So it's super important, even for smaller companies that are, you know, also, I say this all the time because there's the righteous in Canada are like, I would never, you know, rad source my flour. And it's like, what if you were like a small batch company that just did like 25 kilos, and if you had to throw it away or turn it into distillate, it would bankrupt your company.
And can I say in defense of red source, by the way, they get a lot of flack.
I know.
But it's used on blood that is for immunocompromised patients.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it can't be all that obnoxious or sorry, not nauseous, sorry, rather, to the flower. I know it's point source, so it's the safest for the operator as well. But yeah, it's still at the end of the day, it's something that's used. People think that it's to rescue awful and terrible flour. Often it's just done as a standard, even on flour that would have
If it
passed
was
regularly.
only to rescue, it would almost be like, in my mind, I'm just like, oh, you know, you're desperate, you're a small company, you're trying to build yourself up. You'd want to have something available like that, but it becomes a double-edged sword where big companies are like, I don't need to worry about any of that. I just rad source everything. It's like, because there are companies that do that.
Yeah. I mean, well, like in Europe, it's country dependent. Like in Spain, everything needs to go through ionesis, which is e-beam, right? Every single batch, right? So in Portugal, you'll have an option to do cryopasteurization or radio frequency or everything else. So the companies, they'll just find the best way for their product, and they'll validate a process and they'll go through with it, or they'll find a partner that can do it for them. But at the end of the day, it's common, in particular with greenhouse grown flour, that it's not going to comply with the European pharmacopoeia, that's for inhalable products. If I believe it's correct, it's 518B. So usually it'll be compliant with 518C, but it still might need to get treated in order to be able to enter the German market or the UK market or whatever. Sometimes
Randy Watson says he only smokes blood that hasn't been irradiated. It's funny. Listen, I know E-beam. There was an E-beam company next to my lab in Delta, and we went over there and did a bunch of experiments with them because we were just curious. They were like, "Yeah, you don't need to freeze dry your material. You can just E-beam it." And I'm like, "That sounds incorrect." But we went and did some experiments where we brought some bubble over there and we E-beamed it in this giant fucking nuclear fucking looking machine where you open the door and get it in there. And I got a bunch of videos and photos of it, but yeah, it definitely affected the hash in a negative way. Like it was not for drying it, for using it as a dryer.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah,
Right,
that's
that was
probably
the
not.
experiments. They just thought they might be able to fit into a new part of the, because I told them they visited my facility and they were looking at all the freeze dryers and they was like, these look like a lot. And I'm like, yeah, they're expensive, they're finicky, they break easy. Most people have very little understanding of how lyophilization and sublimation works, or not just the philosophy and but also the mechanics of the equipment. And so it just, all of those lack of understandings on both sides cause problems when people use them, and that ends up making them get broken. And the guy was like, well, maybe we can dry the hash. And so we went and did some experiments, and it was not good, but still fun. I like, you never know when you're going to discover something or learn. I would rather not keep myself like a stone in my brain where I think I know everything and I know what's best for not, because who the fuck in their right mind would have ever discovered rosin if they thought like that? Because when we first released rosin, how many of those BHO guys were like, oh, the rosin, you were heating that shit to 180 degrees or 200 originally, and they were like, yeah, that's destroying all the volatile organic compounds. In the meantime, I've got rosin in my hand that I crack open and it reeks on the other side of the football stadium. It's like, yeah, that's a misnomer. There are things in life that are counterintuitive to how the intelligent mind thinks. And the
Absolutely.
most intelligence of minds have to recognize that, because the more you learn, it's
Yeah.
hard not
Yeah.
to become like, I know this. I
Yeah.
know this. Trust me. It's like, yeah, but like, do you know the thing right between the thing you know and the other thing you know? Because I think there's a slice in there that you haven't
Absolutely.
discovered yet.
This is Marcus. This reminds me of a lesson I learned when I was in Morocco. And I was wondering why the plants were grown so densely packed together. And then later on, I learned through an agronomist explaining to me that by doing so, those plants are creating a microclimate. They're releasing moisture, and that moisture is keeping them cool. And if you had
Wow.
if you separated the plants anymore, they would just all all that
Die.
humidity the humidity would be released a lot faster. The microclimate would be lessened because of lesser plants,
So
and the
they'd have
wind be
even
able to
less
treat it.
water.
Yeah. And one of the really cool things that Usama Badad was working with trilogene and polyploidy and triploids is that triploids will have less stomata, so they'll release water slower. So in drought conditions, they can tolerate.
Right. I think I saw that, someone talking about that.
Yeah, yeah,
That is cool.
yeah.
Dude, this is what I'm talking about here. Well, we got 10 more minutes I want to talk. I'm going to cut it short today and do a 3-hour because I still have to go to Mock Technologies or to their partner's warehouse there and make sure I have my course all organized for tomorrow. But this is great, man. Great conversation. This is the stuff that Hash Church gobbles up, dude. The understanding of this, and honestly, important work that you're doing that I'll definitely keep, if I see this as a problem in any of the places that I'm in, I'll definitely get them in touch with you, dude, because
I'm happy to
there's
help.
so many false consultants in this business in cannabis. There's so, like, everyone's a consultant, but like, to me, a consultant should save their clients like 5 to 10x on what they're being paid minimum.
I'm certainly not talking about extra yields or terpenes. We talk about risk mitigation. Protect your investment, protect your license. That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's it is pretty important. Do you know what I
Well,
mean? And it's also the most important thing beyond any of the business bullshit is that, like, it's the right way to, it's right. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't sell shitty product. You shouldn't grow midsy weed. We have to figure this out. Just because we went too big doesn't mean, it doesn't matter how big you go. How big you go just means you'll probably find the mistakes fast, and some of them may be difficult to get over. But Dave Watson told me many, many years ago, he's like, I don't care how big it is, I can grow you top quality, full mount, 6-star resin in a field. You know, it doesn't have to be, everything doesn't have to be controlled. It doesn't, and it doesn't, people are afraid of scaling. And I get it, because when you scale, you know, problems and vectors can become like monsters.
But you just got to know what you're doing. You know, Scott Blakey proved it in Switzerland in the early
Yeah, he did.
2000s when
Oh
he
my
did those
God.
huge fields, and it was just for essential oil production, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what? That was nuts.
Yeah.
If you ever see those videos where he's just driving on a truck and it's just endless greenhouses.
Yep.
So
I went to some of
anyway,
those greenhouses. I went and visited him in early 2000 with Gypsy Nirvana and Bog, and I went to the greenhouses in Ticino or Bellinzona. I think he was in
and
Bellinzona.
I think Campione maybe or
Well,
in Ticino.
Campione was across the water, Lago Lugano. That was on the other over there. That's
That's
where
where
Howard. That's where
okay.
Howard buried his Mr. Nice passport in the when he was like on the run. If you read Mr. Nice, he in a
Mhm.
park in Campione is where Howard buried his Mr. Nice passport, and a fan actually went and found it. And I don't know how the fuck they found it, but it's in the newest version that he wrote of that book. He says, yeah, the passport has since been found. But I've been to Campione, but it wasn't in Campione. It was down in Bellinzona. It was south of
Okay.
Lugano.
Yeah.
And beautiful, beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful greenhouses. The one that we went through was all Callio. Every plant was like a Christmas tree. They were like a day away from being cut down. And I was just like, what is going on here? And he's like, I'm like, what's your secret? He's like, well, I don't hire smokers. These are all rose farmers. I'm like, rose farmers? He's like, yeah, they're fucking exceptional growers and they listen. And he's like, growers can be exceptional growers, but the one thing they can't do is listen. They cannot listen to someone telling them something that's different than what they've personally learned through their own personal experience. So he's like,
Oh
all I
man.
had to tell them was instead of prickles, I said, don't rub your eyes. That's all I had to tell them. Don't rub your eyes ever, and you'll be golden. Because roses, you know, they're constantly pricking their fingers, and you got those thick gloves on, and they grew. It was their first crop too. That these rose growers that he hired in Switzerland that had never grown cannabis ever in their lives. He just told them what to do, and he's like, it's actually
And
pretty
and, and
easy.
and you know, Marcus, though, curiously, the rose is I think like the only crop that is most similar to cannabis in the way that it sweats from the inside out. All
Yeah.
other crops will be able to condense and drip down, right? Like an apple or strawberry, water can drip down. Water needs to be eliminated from the inside out in cannabis and in roses. So when we talk about farms that are going to be taken over for a retrofit, usually like my favorites are going to be rose farms, and rose growers absolutely going to have the knowledge to you know to transition over easiest. Because I've had raspberry and tomato growers. I had a tomato grower once at an operation in Portugal, and he was trying to train a plant in veg and removing this like the suckers. It does like it was a tomato, and like why would you do that? It's just well, it works in tomatoes. So you got
It
to be
works in
careful.
tomatoes. We're
You
not
got to be
growing
careful.
tomatoes actually.
It's a different type of crop. You know, that's a 10-month crop. Cannabis is 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Totally incomparable.
A lot of people in BC, they took over these hothouse greenhouses. They got involved with the hothouse community and they grow all the peppers and the tomatoes for Japan and Asia. Huge, huge industry in British Columbia. And a lot of cannabis companies moved in there and they were like, oh, we're going to like retrofit these greenhouses and grow weed. And it's like, guess what? You can't just grow weed in those greenhouses. Like they are set up, the whole system and the style and everything about it is just not ideal. It's ideal for a fucking pepper plant, but it's not ideal for cannabis. And it's like, you know, it's like $150 million of infrastructure. It's not so easy to just be like, let's just change this and make it like for cannabis. And so a lot of companies tried and failed that very thing
You
in
know,
Canada.
the biggest operator in Spain right now, you can look them up. I won't say their name, but the biggest licensed producer in Spain currently stop operation and all production in their greenhouse in the months of July and August because it's 52 degrees Celsius in there. So besides R&D and maintaining moms, they stopped production. They realized that they were just fighting a losing battle every harvest, so they just gave up. July and August, they just stopped.
Well, that's actually really smart to come up with that, you know, like at least that to try and fight that 52 degrees Celsius. Well, we're just going to move in some chillers. We've got about 400,000 chillers coming in. There's no room for people. We're just going to like turn the air conditions on. Like you just can't control that. Like 52 degrees is people die in 52-degree weather.
Yeah, I mean, there are some exceptional workers that they hire in the south of Spain. That's the part where you can see from space all those crazy greenhouses.
Yeah.
I mean, they hire. I've worked with Nepalese people who withstand heat like it's nothing.
Wow.
They bring these people from all over the world, and but still, at some point, it's inhumane. And for the flowers, they're just the medicinal value is gone, right? So there's just no point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it makes sense for sure. Well, listen, thanks for coming on, dude. I appreciate you. Good to see you again, Etienne. It was good to have Stefan on. Like I said, I met Stefan 25 years ago, also in Lugano, making hash and visiting grow rooms and stuff, and greenhouses and fields. So shout out to him. Shout out to Dom from Anexo for coming in and sharing the hazes. Looks like we just lost Xavier, but shout out to Xavier for coming and sharing what he just shared. Really appreciate all of that. Shout out to this guy for showing up and bringing some hash and just being an all-around good dude.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. And big shout
And the
out.
beard mic. I mean, you can't not love the beard mic.
Dude, the beard mic is baller. I didn't even realize for like the first half an hour that he was sitting there with it. But yes, definitely big shout out to Puffco, the fine folks at Puffco. Go support them if you can as well. The Press Club. I'm going to try and have a Press Club episode. I'd love to have an episode with a bunch of the Puffco people and the Press Club people. Our sponsorship episode. Just have them come on. I'd love to hear how Chelsea's doing. I know she's got cancer right now, so if you go follow Chelsea at Puffco and you can watch her go through this journey, she's a fighter, she's a strong woman, and I have no doubt about it that she's going to kick cancer's ass all over the jiu-jitsu mats as she does practice jiu-jitsu. Yeah, thanks Michigan, thanks Mock Technologies and Luke Costello for bringing me out and having me. I'll see all of you guys tomorrow at the course. And I'll be cruising around Michigan. So if you're in Michigan, hit me up. You never know if you got some nice dabs you want to hit. I've got a list of people that I just keep hitting up every time I'm in a new place. And then they'll just tell me, holy shit, like he was the first person I said, I'm going to the Auburn. Are you close to that? He's like, yeah, I can drive there, no problem. I'm like, great, let's do it. So Michigan, or the Mitten as they call it, right? This is how people tell you where they live, in the Mitten. Where are we in the Mitten right now?
I think, let's see, are you facing the right direction? There you go. So we're like,
oh, right.
Right down here.
Right, because down here is Ohio?
Ohio, yep.
And then over here is Canada.
Yep, Canada's over here. So Toronto's like over here.
So yeah, Michigan's shaped like a hand. They call it the Mitten, and they all show each other where they live on the Mitten. So
that's like in West Virginia, except in West Virginia, we've got the Northern Panhandle.
Them's fighting words.
No, that's Pennsylvania and Ohio.
Okay, shit.
All right. Yeah. That's Ohio over here, Pennsylvania over here. So there you go. All right. I also want to shout out because we lost somebody this week to cancer, Luke Kohler from lead singer for Sick of It All. So shout out to him, friends and family, and the whole Alleyway crew there in New York City.
Much love and respect. Shout out New York City fam. May the full melt bless your bowl sooner than later, everyone. We will see you next Sunday. I think I'll be back in British Columbia, maybe in Kelowna, maybe in Lions Bay. We'll see. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Till next time, we'll see you when we see ya. Peace out. Recording stopped.
Love ya. Be safe.
You too, brother.
See you, Etienne.
Be safe.
End stream. Peace.